Oh, college football 2022. Okay, so
Check,
that's
check. I
that.
think my mic's good. I feel like I'm a little quiet, maybe. Yeah, I think I am a little quiet somehow. I'm gonna turn up my mic a little bit on stream, just a smidge. By the way, hello YouTube. We're like 10 minutes late per usual.
YouTube, hi.
Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for all the new subscribers. If you're here and you're new, then welcome. Welcome to the podcast. All right, I'm gonna turn myself up just a little bit.
Aaron, are you following what you sent me and I sent
I'm
you
sorry.
like almost
I'm sorry.
simultaneously?
Yes.
Okay.
Iowa's a double-digit favorite over anyone.
Yeah, that's
That is
truly
the
shocking.
sickos game of the
I'm
week.
so.
Of the year.
Are we doing? Are
Of
we?
the
Betting,
year,
I'm betting
Johnny.
the under. I'm so betting the under.
Well, Josh, the over-under is like 31.5. Are you sure?
I'm taking.
It's like the lowest, I think they said, like one of the lowest ever. Like one of the lowest.
Trust the
like,
process.
No, literally ever. Yeah.
Is it the lowest ever?
I believe so. If it stays there, yes, it will be.
I mean, that's basically predicting a 17-14 game, which
That
point
sounds
spreads
about
just
right.
never predict that. But yeah, I mean, that sounds actually no.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? 4 touchdowns? It won't be 17.
Over under set at 36.5 right now.
Well, how could they get to 14 other than touchdowns? That's the real.
You could
question.
1 touchdown, 2 safeties, and a field goal. Just the traditional way, Johnny.
Absolutely.
The way the Big Ten intended.
Yeah, and God.
And God. And the Lord.
My prediction will be
You should
16-15, 5
16,
field
15?
goals, 1 touchdown, and 3 field goals on the other side. So 8 field goals total.
8 field goals total, and the only touchdown coming from a sack and scoop.
It's a defensive touchdown.
Yeah,
there's
no actual points of offense being scored.
No, come on, what are we doing here? I love that, or some random guy did that though. With the big. No, I won't say anything.
We'll have fun talking about it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna buy tickets to this game.
I want to go. Where's the game? Is it in Evanston or in I should have just stayed out there.
Yeah, I should have.
Should
have kept you out there.
I was just listening to the game while I'm driving into Iowa, and
it's in Iowa. It's in Iowa. You can go to for $30.
Dang, I should have stayed. I drove right through Iowa City.
You should have.
Wow. That's tragic. That's unfortunate.
I guess I got to go back.
Yep, that's right. That is correct.
There should be a parental guidance warning.
Oh, yeah.
Sticker at the bottom of that game on the telecast.
Yeah, so I was at the Skull session, and for those uninitiated, that's Ohio State's kind of pregame pep rally with the band. It's awesome. So I was there with someone that I know. Well, yeah, ended up being there with someone that I knew, and he was taking his daughter for her first game, and I was like, "That's awesome." But then I told him, I'm like, "Hey, look, I thought you were a good father. You are subjecting your daughter to watching Iowa's offense. Like, I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. Obviously,
you're subjecting her to you're making her watch a team where they went 6 of 14 for passes.
Yeah. We could talk about this. How did they throw for 270 yards against Michigan? That's what I want to know. Like, I'm not trying to.
I was looking at the comparison. And I'm like, how good? No, you're absolutely right.
I turned the channel. I don't know. Like, the game was over.
Hold on. My roommate's in the other room. He watched that game. I'll be right back.
All right, Josh, go do some market research for us.
There's absolutely, like, even your backups, that shouldn't have happened.
You guys let Iowa pass for 250 yards.
I kind of want to be following Hypnotoad.
Mm-hmm.
We let them go for 49.
What? Where did that come from?
I have no idea. Oh, that's what I was going to look up. I'm very curious what TCU's defense is like.
Okay.
Like, it's like a cult following now.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'm just
At TCU.
Is that what you said? Is that what we're going to experience? So we're going to be the Iowa in the situation. This is great. You're very wrong, but I appreciate your enthusiasm. I guess I'm back tell. Saying goes. I did tell. Because you let him get 249 yards. We gotta let you have one every 20 years.
I mean, Aaron, it's still the whole, like, they are literally statistically the worst
Yeah, sure.
offense.
I'm
They're
sure.
worse than UMass.
Yeah.
They get, I believe it's about 30 yards less a game on offense than UMass.
Which is why, like, statistically, I know Iowa technically isn't the best defense. They are the best defense because how
No,
do you
they're
put
the
up those
best.
numbers with that horrendous offense? You're on the field. Well, I know they really weren't. I know it was split down the middle, like roughly 50-50. But you were literally on the field the entire game.
Well,
Yeah.
Aaron, the reason they weren't on the field the whole game is because Ohio State's starting field position was Iowa's 30-yard line.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason they weren't on the field the whole game, was because Ohio State didn't have to do a normal drive. I mean, it was bizarre. Somebody tweeted out, it might have been Mike Golick Jr., who's a good follow on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
How does Iowa's defense not fight the offense, like, on a daily basis? Like, how are they not throwing hands? I don't know.
This has the makings. Yeah, I was gonna say they have the toughness and if they just grab someone.
That's an all-time
top 15.
self-control.
Yeah,
Like, it's some all-time self-control to not be fighting on the sidelines. And I'm not condoning that. It's just, I don't know how, I don't know. Anyway. Are we ready?
Yeah, I think I'm good.
Yeah, let's hit it.
Yeah. I can't find it. I was trying to find, like, how many yards per game TC was giving up and, like, how that relates to the rest of the country, but I can't find it. So I was trying to look up defensive things. All right, well, maybe later. All right, I will fire up Audacity and we can get started.
Mm-hmm. I updated Audacity and gave it the test record, so I think we're okay now.
Sweet. Yeah, just let me know. Feel free to interrupt too if it dies.
Yeah,
easier to do
we
a retake
should be. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. Here we go. Welcome to the Fifth and Goal podcast. My name is Aaron. I am joined once again by my good friends Josh and Jonny. Jonny, welcome back from the plains of South Dakota, guys. It's good to be with you all. It's been a week since we've been able to do this. So, guys, welcome. Josh, how was your week, man?
It's been a great week. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but fall is just starting to come into the States.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have experienced any sort of cooler temperatures up in Ohio, but I know for us down here in Texas, we're just hitting sub 90.
Okay.
Some of the trees are just starting to turn their colors, and so it's a really special time, I guess, in all of the states where, I think we're all experiencing collectively at the same time this beautiful early fall weather. So. Yes. We're having a great time down here.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. Honestly, we've been enjoying nice fall weather for about a month, but welcome to the party. And now you can officially enjoy college football because apparently you couldn't before. So
I can eat apples. I can drink apple cider, mostly apple related things.
Yes, that's exciting for you, Josh.
I can eat them all, Jonny. I know. I see what you're thinking. I can and have enjoyed those all year round, but it feels right.
Okay.
When there's a little bit of a chill in the air. And when I say chill, I mean 75.
Yeah, bundle up for that, Josh. Jonny, welcome back. How was your journey to South Dakota?
Yeah, well, I had the foliage the whole time, Josh. So I'm sorry that I had, excuse me, the scenic drive of Iowa. Who says corn and soybeans and windmills can't be scenic? Enjoyed South Dakota and Wyoming and being out in the plains and the West. And that's not even the far West, but the West is beautiful if you haven't been out there, which I'm probably preaching to the choir. So great time, good break. Happy to be back.
Yeah, well, good to have you guys back. If you missed it, we had Armando Villarreal on last week. It's always a good interview. Thanks again to him for being back on the show. Man, he's just so talented. Like I've been thinking about that interview all week long. Like, dang, that's so cool what he does. I just love football. And like, that's just part of the culture of college football that makes it all so great. All the traditions and all the stories behind everything. It's all really good. Like the games that we saw this week, we had a bunch of top 25 matchups again, and there's a lot to unpack. So if you follow us on Instagram, we did a little thing called True or False. So what we're going to do today is we picked 3 statements, And we're going to discuss whether we think they are true or false. And you guys also gave us the answer to that same story. So, statement number 1, and this is open for whoever wants it to answer first. Statement number 1, the Pac-12 has been eliminated from the college football playoff. True or false?
True.
False.
That's
All
right.
All right.
So I'll start, Josh, and then tear me apart.
Okay.
I think everybody had this in their drafts literally week 1 when Utah lost to Florida and are just like, well, it's over. And let's be honest, you're just waiting for it in the first 3 weeks of the season, basically. Oh, the Pac-12's done. The Pac-12 is deep this year. So unlike other years, you can afford one loss, win the conference, and I would argue you certainly are still like warranting playoff talk. I'm not going to say a one-loss champion out of the Pac-12 is an automatic make like the Big Ten, like the SEC, but those are the only 2 conferences where it really is an automatic ticket into the playoff. If you win that conference and you have one loss, you're in. If you're in the ACC, if you're in the Big 12, if you're in the Pac-12, that's never been an automatic statement. Now, most of the time, it's true because we always get into these hypotheticals of what if this team's undefeated and this team's undefeated and this team's undefeated. Well, we love the sport because it's wild, it's unpredictable, losses come out of nowhere. We're not going to have 4 undefeated teams going into the playoff. It's never happened. It won't happen again this year. The SEC is going to destroy itself a little bit at least, but that would be the main concern if I'm the Pac-12 of multiple SEC teams getting in. Because if multiple get in, the Big Ten's not getting left out. Now you are in a debate for that last spot between probably a undefeated or one-loss Clemson, a Big 12 champ that looks like it'd probably need to be TCU at this point. I think the better statement would be, is the Big 12 just TCU at this point with an opportunity to make the playoff? Like if TCU goes down, do they have much of a chance? I still think USC is excellent. I think they're going to have a great chance to bounce back. That Oregon team, the margin of victory is hard to get over, but they're not remotely the same team who lost to Georgia. Not even remotely. I think it's too early to just say UCLA's done. They don't look like a playoff team the way they appeared in Eugene, but losing on the road to a top 10 team and that being your only loss, since when does that eliminate you? So I think there's excellent teams still here. I think it's far too early to say that they're done and eliminated.
Very well put. However, no. I'm trying a new thing.
Okay.
Where I just disagree with you baselessly and hopefully insultingly. So how could you possibly be so dumb, Johnny? Of course, the Pac-12 has eliminated itself again like it does every year. Because I see either technically all TCU really has left is Texas, who may or may not be back. However, if they aren't back, they're breezing through. Or we have Clemson. Clemson still has Notre Dame and South Carolina, but they're currently undefeated. And so I see, at the very least, I see 2 SEC teams. Honestly, there is a chance, depending on how Michigan Ohio State goes, and depending on how Tennessee finishes its schedule. Because what's the least messy option is that Tennessee beats Georgia, faces Alabama again in the playoffs. And then you either get Alabama wins, and you probably get Tennessee, Alabama, and you get Tennessee, Alabama in the playoffs, Ohio State, and maybe an undefeated Big 12 or ACC. Or Tennessee beats Alabama, and then you do it again. It's the same thing. So you were wrong. The ends. We're working on this. We'll yell. We'll work on yelling.
Josh, I like it. I appreciate the effort. I have to.
I think I don't know if the perception is quite. I think you could say that the SEC can be deep, and while we know that the Pac-12 is a bit deeper than it has been in the past, I don't know if that's how it's perceived yet, especially by the committee who's not watching these games demonstrably.
That's a good point.
And I say that as a joke, but I'm also like, realistically, they're going off of stereotypes and like, maybe just like the little 10-minute YouTube playthroughs that we watch. You guys watch the full games.
We do.
But realistically, if a Pac-12 team wins out the rest of its schedule, I like USC, especially if they get through especially if they get through UCLA. Like, it's tough, but you're wrong. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I like it. So here's where I'm at on all this. I agree technically with Jonny because no, the Pac-12 is not eliminated. But if I had to bet right now, does the Pac-12 make the playoff? I'm betting a decent amount of money that they don't. For a variety of different reasons. I think what you brought up, Josh, the fact that there's multiple teams in a scenario, and yes, I know we have those scenarios every year, but there's some very extremely likely scenarios that there will be an undefeated Big Ten team in the playoff, whether it's Michigan, whether it's Ohio State. Goodness knows it's not going to be a team from the Big Ten West, even though we love those teams dearly. I think Clemson finds a way to go undefeated. And then the SEC finds a way to get at least one. We know they're getting one, if not two. I just named 4 very, very likely situations of teams that will be deserving of getting in the playoff. The window is about that big for the Pac-12. And here's the other problem. Utah's probably going to win the Pac-12. I know Oregon's looked really good, but Utah does this every year. They stumble out of the gate, they get 2 early losses, and then Kyle Whittingham gets the machine going. He cranks it up, and Utah is one of the hottest teams towards the end of the season. It feels like that's what's happened the last 2 or 3 years. Now, I know it didn't really work out for the Utes in the Rose Bowl, but we saw what they did to Oregon twice. And look, they may have to do that to Oregon twice again this year, although actually I take that back. I don't think they play in the regular season. So just once. So there you go. So technically, are they eliminated? No, but if you had a gun to my head and I had to pick one or the other, I'm absolutely saying the Pac-12 misses the playoffs. So, Josh, I kind of agree with you more, so maybe I should just go out on a limb and say, yes, they are eliminated. Maybe I should actually put some stock in my opinion. By the way, we did poll the fans. You, the fans, did agree by a slim margin that the Pac-12 is eliminated from the college football playoff. We shall see. It will come down to, most likely, now I know Pac-12 After Dark is a scary, scary animal. But, you're right. Oregon does play Utah. They play second to last week of the season. Oregon hosts Utah second to last week of the season.
If they beat Utah, that'd be Utah's second conference loss.
That is correct.
And I'm assuming Utah's probably not in the championship game at that point.
Yes. It's also worth noting that
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Thank you, Jonny, for clarifying. It's also worth noting that Oregon is the only team in that conference to not have a conference loss. So Oregon would really have to fall apart to at least not get into the Pac-12 championship game. So Oregon, Utah, that's a big game.
I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, I don't either. I think Oregon finds a way to get there. So Oregon, Utah, that's a big game. Oregon, Oregon State, and USC, UCLA. Those are the top 3 games to watch. I'm not saying that we can't see crazy upsets and chaos, but if you're looking at the Pac-12 schedule, the remaining 3 or 4 weeks, those are the games you're going to highlight from the Pac-12. So that's where we're at with the Pac-12. So we have some disagreement there. Let's try this next question. Our fans also thought that this statement was true, that Jimbo Fisher will be fired at the end of the season. Guys, true or false?
No.
Jimbo, will he be fired?
No.
No.
They got too much. This is a sunk cost fallacy. This is basic economics. What's he get? 80. He's got 85 mil guaranteed right now,
and there's no way around that. Correct.
There's no way around that. I realize that it's a bad situation and that he is way overrated as a coach. Maybe not way overrated, but definitely solidly overrated as a head coach.
Yeah.
And I realize that A&M has all of that lovely, lovely oil money, booster money available. You can't drop 85 mil on a guy and then go and sign another guy for whatever they would get. And whoever goes into A&M next is going to command a high price. You're stuck with this guy for at least Ooh,
At least one more.
Yeah.
at least one more. At least one more time.
I'm not gonna say more than that.
Right.
But
I'm not giving
he's
him much
making
more.
it till the end of next season. He's
If
going to
nothing-
make it till the end of next season.
If next season looks like this season, absolutely right. If he flips them
Yeah.
up to maybe 9 or 10 victories, 3 years max.
He doesn't need 9 or 10 victories. If he beats Alabama, they'll sign him to another 3-year contract extension. That's the problem. He's doing the exact same as Kevin Sumlin. It's not better. A&M thinks that they can just pour money into things and it makes it better. There's no culture. There's no community built there in the football team. That's clear.
They have midnight yells. That's a lot of culture right there.
That is a lot of culture. That's a good way of putting
I think that's the word for it, right? Culture?
Yeah, I think so.
Culture's the right way of putting it. The fact is, it's too much money. I think if the question was phrased, should he be fired? Push the money aside. Yes. Because with the talent that they've amassed at Texas A&M, there's zero excuse for them to be performing this badly and unable to beat a very severely hampered, I'd almost say handicapped South Carolina team that is really still just starting that rebuilding process under Shane Beamer. He's done a great job.
Incredible.
Make a bowl game last year in year one.
And they're 5-2 this year. Yeah.
They're going to make another bowl game.
Yeah.
Look at their schedule. They probably have 2 more wins on there at least, which is just fantastic. He's doing a great job. But that's not a good roster. There's no excuse. You should be able to go too deep at all positions. I don't care if Max Johnson's hurt. Haynes King's supposed to be this brilliant quarterback. Jimbo, you're supposed to be great with your quarterbacks. What's going on here? So money aside, I would back them in letting Jimbo go. But you cannot do that to your program. $86 million. There's no sense of impropriety or anything off the field issues that I know of that are going on. And because that's the case, I think you got to ride with them for another year. But as I've said before on the podcast, it's not like, oh, well, the number 1 recruiting class, they're all freshmen. Guys, they've been getting top 5, top 10 classes this whole time. That's not an excuse.
They've been a young team for 5 years. Get out of here with that excuse.
Where is it? If you don't have the stability of Kellen Mond, they're garbage. They just don't have anything. And so, they just can't get out of that because of the amount of money. But gosh, I know they would love to. And signing that extension last year after beating Alabama, does their AD want that back?
It gets cheaper by it gets cheaper each year by about $9 million. So
it's significant though.
It's significant, yeah. So you're looking at what if they let them go next year, 76 million, 67 million if they keep until 2024. It's if you're patient. You can save up money to fire him.
Well, it would be 18 million then if he makes it to the end of next season, right? So, hey, 18 million's a fully renovated football facility, probably. So.
Yeah,
and that puts us in the ballpark of some of the buyouts that we've seen. That would still be the biggest of all of them, but we're talking the Paul Christs, you name it, the Scott Frost, all that kind of stuff. So I agree with you guys. It's not going to happen, even though we've said it. In any other situation with any other contract, he would be gone probably Saturday night before the team's even getting on the bus against South Carolina. By the way, maybe a better true-false question is, will Texas A&M make a bowl game? They're 3-4. Here's their remaining schedule. Next week, home against number 14 Mississippi versus Florida, at Auburn versus UMass. We'll give them that one. And then home against LSU. There's 3 very losable games on that schedule.
Yeah, that's
I think
not
I would
guaranteed.
say true that they just missed the playoff. Because at this point, what are they playing for?
No bowl game.
Does the team believe in Jimbo Fisher enough? Can he stir up enough confidence and hope and motivation in that locker room to even compete against some of these teams? I don't know. I really don't. And honestly, it maybe speaks more to how I think Florida is going to finish, how LSU is going to finish. I was very wrong about the Brian Kelly thing. That seems to be going quite well. So good for LSU. Well done there. We've got them number 16 in our poll. All right. The final question of true and false. And there was a very concise and clear, obvious winner on our Instagram poll of this.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's because I actually phrased the question wrong. But here's the question: true or false? TCU goes undefeated. Now, obviously, I made the assumption that we're talking about the regular season and Big 12 champion. I'm not saying they're going to the playoff and winning the whole thing, but TCU goes 13-0. They keep it going. True or false?
False. Josh?
Yeah.
Ooh. False.
Yeah.
They're gonna get one loss in there.
I agree. Here's
Aaron,
their
I'll take the lead
schedule.
on this.
Yeah, I'll take the lead on this.
one.
So here's their schedule: at West Virginia versus Texas Tech, at Texas, at Baylor versus Iowa State. Not too bad. Like, consider some of the teams they've
not
already
horrendous.
beat: Oklahoma State. Let's see, Kansas State. They obviously just beat Kansas. They beat really the top half of the conference.
Mhm.
But the problem is the Big 12 is such a chaotic conference, and I don't trust TCU's defense enough that they go to Texas. And you know Texas is going to get up for that game. They don't want, quote unquote, little brother TCU undefeated. You know Texas is going to be up and ready for that to
Not
play
after last year.
spoiler. Yeah. You know Texas is going to be ready for that. At Baylor, regardless of how Baylor's playing, that's still going to be a tough place to play. Iowa State, I don't even need to talk about Iowa State. You already know that they make your life just a nightmare for 3 hours, and it makes sometimes me have a nightmare watching them for 3 hours. So I think
Those Iowa programs.
towards the end of the season, I think unfortunately they do find a way to lose, because I would love to see it. Don't get me wrong, I am rooting. All right, now we're reconnected. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna start it over so eventually on YouTube. All right, there we go. So don't get me wrong, I really want to see TCU run the table, go 12-0. They probably play Oklahoma State again. Like, even that's a tall task. Like, let's say they get through the remaining schedule. You have to play Oklahoma State again, and a game that honestly Oklahoma State played their worst game of the season probably. So credit TCU for that win.
It was on the road.
And it was on the road, a neutral site. And you know how Oklahoma State's feeling after last year's Big 12 championship. You know there's a little bit of anger and some motivation for the Cowboys. So I'm with you guys. It saddens me. I want to see TCU do it. I think in the process, the Big 12, there's a likely chance that the Big 12 also gets left out of the playoff. We could kind of see a repeat of what we saw last year. We could see a 2-loss Pac-12 team. We could see a Big 12 champion that has 1 or 2 losses and doesn't really have a shot at the playoff. We'll see. I'm saying false. And by the way, like 91% of our fans on Instagram also thought the same thing.
I will say this. It will be just a travesty that a 1-loss Big 12 champion would not be in the playoff this year.
I agree.
Because of how deep this conference is. I mean, the worst conference win that TCU has at this point, technically speaking, is Oklahoma. Like, that is the worst team in conference that they've played so far, is Oklahoma. That's crazy. But I agree. They're not going to run the table. I mean, we went through the teams. I could see them losing this Thursday night to West Virginia and Morgantown.
Yeah.
Is there any game on there that you'd be like just absolutely stunned? And listen, I love Max Duggan. I think I have him number 2 now on my Heisman list. Just because you just see him balling right now. He deserves it. He's just playing so well. The offense with Sonny Dykes, first-year head coach, has been so exciting. They've done so well, come from behind victories against Oklahoma State and Kansas State, that shootout with Kansas. They're finding ways to win. Hypno Toad is just fantastic. I love all of that. It's the fun quirkiness that makes college football great. But the Big 12 is going to get in its own way here, and they're going to lose one of these games. Texas Tech has a great offense. You know what Texas brings to the table, even though they are the antithesis of TCU. They find ways to blow it at the end of games. And Baylor's better than that record says. They're at home in that game. That makes all the difference. They're the defense. Between them and Iowa State are the defensive teams in the conference. Might actually be able to slow down that TCU offense enough to beat them. So I honestly want to say a 1-loss Oklahoma State or a 1-loss TCU really should be in the playoff. They're going to be absolutely deserving so. But there's no way TCU is at least unbeaten at the end. I have a hard time seeing them be unscathed. It just won't happen.
Yep. Josh, you're saying false as well.
Yeah, I can't tell. Yeah, I'm looking at West Virginia. I'm looking at Texas. I'm looking at Baylor. I can't see undefeated. Now, it'd be fantastic if they're undefeated. That'd be kind of fun.
It would.
Yeah.
That'd be very fun.
That'd
And
be
that would
great.
help. That would help solidify what I said earlier about the Pac-12.
That's true.
But
Yes.
however, also realistically, I think they're dropping at least one.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see.
And that's not a knock on them. They're still very good.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? I think
Personally, I really wanted Kansas State to win that game just so we have that one-loss Tulane team hanging over the Big 12 champ
Yeah.
and messing everything up.
Wouldn't that be something?
That would have been fun.
Yeah.
We
All
love
right.
our green wave.
We do love that angry little green wave. We would die for that thing. All right. Well, guys, thank you. I missed one. Josh, is Texas back? True or false?
Mathematically speaking, false. If our definition, which we've maintained, is you have to maintain 10 wins. I'm going to say in the regular season. They have 4 games remaining in the regular season. So the best that they could go for right now is, I believe, 9-3, which is close if they win out.
It is close.
And if they win a bowl game, cool, they're up to 10. I'm not counting that as back. What bowl are they getting in with 9 wins? They're getting in
the
like
Alamo Bowl, probably.
Yeah, the Alamo Bowl. And so I'm like, I don't think that's back enough to consider back. So functionally, and and I will tell you, they're doing the exact same thing. I looked at that Iowa State score and I'm like, you guys are on track. If you're the Big 12 and I guess now the SEC, and you're trying to schedule Texas as late in the season as you possibly can. Do not schedule them the first 5 or 6 weeks. They are fantastic. They are one of the best teams. They're one of the best teams in that first 5 weeks.
Unless it's Maryland.
Shh. Now, Texas, you almost, and it's not even entirely Texas's fault this year, but also,
yeah, you're right.
For kicks and giggles, I could see them dropping 2.
Oh yeah,
I could see them dropping TCU and Baylor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
we'll see.
Realistically, if they went out, they're 80% back.
Okay. I'll accept that percentage.
If and when they will get a 4th loss.
Still not back.
Still not back.
Still not 100%. So
now, if Quinn stays, we'll see next year. They got a good foundation, and with a healthy quarterback, with a healthy QB1, I think that this could be a potential for some backness. But not this season. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Enjoy going 8-4.
Yeah. Look, I think Quinn's going to be fantastic, and clearly he has been at times. But I think we've been reminded the last couple of weeks that he is still a freshman quarterback, and we've also been reminded that defense is certainly not fixed for Texas, which is interesting considering how they played against Alabama. But who knows? Is Alabama any good? We don't know. I don't think anyone knows.
We don't know yet. No one knows.
Yeah. Well, Mississippi State does when we saw that one coming. But anyways,
well,
all right.
That always happens to them. I feel bad.
I know, it really does. It's a little sad. Guys, thank you for True and False. If you liked it, let us know. We'll keep doing it. Obviously, it does not have to be exclusive to college football. There's a lot of True and False we can do, and obviously we enjoy getting your thoughts as well. So maybe next time we do it, we'll do some True and False, and I can keep the results from Josh and Jonny, and then we can do a game and see if they can predict what you guys thought. That might be what we do next time. So that'd be kind of fun. All right, guys, as good as the college football was and will be next week, it is time to move on to the NFL, because there's been a lot that has happened and we really haven't talked about it a ton. So we're just going to do some quick hits on some NFL notes. Guys, we all sat here a few weeks ago and we gave our division picks, and You know, I'm really proud of us. We all said the Seahawks would be leading the NFC West. We all said the Falcons would be leading the NFC South, and because Tom Brady's washed, and obviously, so first time he's been under 500 since I was 6 years old. So that's where the Buccaneers are, following a 21-3 loss to the Christian McCaffrey-less Carolina Panthers, and I know they've been used to not having CMC on their team, but this time he was not on the team at all because he got traded to San Francisco, and then the 49ers laid an egg. Anyways, but let's just start with, I guess, the Seahawks. Like, Geno Smith is playing really well. Marcus Mariota is playing really well, so good for them. I guess, Johnny, we'll throw it over to you because early on, some struggles for your Bengals, and now they look like they're kind of back into maybe not Super Bowl form. I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit, but looking quite a bit better.
Yeah, I think, and I'm guilty of this, as all fans are, you overreact. When there's only one game a week, it's not baseball, it's not basketball in the NBA, where, you have a bad game, you get to turn around and play another one really quickly, kind of get that taste out of your mouth. It's not soccer, it's not hockey, it's not NBA. Like, it's one game, so you have to sit on that for, a whole week, and sometimes more if it's, a Monday night game. So offensive lines take time. Look at the Chiefs last year. They reworked their entire offensive line, and the Chiefs were really struggling early in the season last year as well. I think the Bengals might be the third best team, honestly, in the entire league. Unfortunately, they have two juggernauts sitting in front of them that are the Chiefs and Bills in their own conference. The NFC is real bad this year, guys. It's real bad. The AFC is good. There's teams that are good that you didn't necessarily expect to be. But I think the Bengals, you have this stretch now where now you get the Browns. This is the right time to play the Browns, man. So they get them on Monday Night Football. You have to feel good about that, even with the game being in Cleveland. They're imploding right now. Burrow's having time. He looks confident again. As fans, Jamar Chase has they found ways to call the game a little bit better. Zach Taylor, credit to him. I'm a big critic of his play calling all the time. I need to give him credit when he does well. He's been able to get Jamar back into the game plan with different routes, crossing patterns, comeback routes, not just keeping him on the outside the whole time. So it's been great. Still have not given up a defensive touchdown in the second half of any game.
That's insane. This season.
So nobody talks about the defense. Gotta give them their love because that is a Super Bowl caliber defense at all stages, all phases.
Yeah. Johnny, you talked about how bad the NFC is here. So, and I told you guys, maybe we'll do a fun thing with the fans where you try to guess numbers. So we'll do it right here. Here's a little quick impromptu trivia.
Ooh, let's do it.
How many?
I'm going to not be on the Google page where I have all the standings.
That's okay. How many teams in the NFC have a positive point differential this season? How many?
Positive point differential.
Yes.
Ooh.
4.
Johnny says 4.
I'll go 4. Hold on. You know what? Let's go. I'll be optimistic.
Actually, 6. I'm going 6.
Johnny changes.
I'll go 5.
5. Josh.
I'll go to 5.
Ding, ding, ding. 5 is the answer.
Well, we were close.
And 3 of them are from the NFC East. The Eagles, Giants, and Cowboys, who have a combined record of 17-3, somehow, incredibly. And the Commanders even have 3 wins. So those 3 teams. Then you've got the Minnesota Vikings plus 21. And then the 49ers at 3-4 with a plus 12, despite losing their last 2. Maybe worth noting that the Buccaneers have an even 0, but there's only 5. And then a quick browse of the AFC. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there you go. Sports.
What a time to be alive in the NFC.
Yeah. Buffalo, by the way, plus 95.
Can we talk about all of the New York-based teams?
Yeah, seriously.
I mean,
can we talk about the New York-based baseball teams too?
Yeah.
To be fair, I just want to, for any fans, there is only one team that's actually within New York, and we know which team that is. So there is one New York team, and then there are 2 New York affiliated teams.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's a good point.
All of them doing well.
Yeah.
I joke every year. I mean, when I say every year, I mean both years that we have started into an NFL season where I'm like, yeah, the Jets aren't a real team. They don't exist. And not just like, oh, they've convinced me. No, I don't believe they're real. I don't believe they've ever existed. And now
Right.
I'm like, oh, shoot. Can do things.
Yeah,
And that's
Josh,
I don't
feel
know.
like
I don't
you-
even know how to react to that.
I feel like you had some superlative for the Jets, and like you said, if the Jets are good or something, I would do this. And I need to go back and do some research and figure out what that
Oh,
was, because I know you
hope-
said something. I think
I
maybe
hope
it was
I
like
did.
if they made the playoffs, you're going to buy a jersey or something. I'm hoping it's something like
I
that, because
swear.
they're
I
5-2
swear.
right now.
Hey, you can at least get a
Oh,
Garrett
no.
Wilson jersey.
yeah,
Josh.
for sure.
Yeah, like you could get a Buckeye jersey.
I'll get a Garrett
Brees,
Wilson.
Brees
jersey.
Hall's a brutal injury though
Yeah,
for the Jets.
it is.
Like 5-2, Jets are doing really, really well. It's definitely the defense. They're definitely trying to
Ooh.
basically not use Zach Wilson, but it's been the Brees Hall show, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to overcome. Michael Carter's another good young running back, but Brees was perhaps going for offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's probably Kenneth Walker's now. We were just talking about the Seahawks.
Mhm.
He's been fantastic. Both of those guys, man, you could have gotten some good value for both of them, especially Kenneth, if you got him in your fantasy leagues. But
By the way,
that's-
Kenneth Walker, if you look on ESPN, has his college listed as Wake Forest, which he played there. He transferred from Wake Forest to Michigan
still
State.
listed
but
as Wake Forest?
It is. And I don't know if that's like under his direction. That's at least what Twitter was thinking this week. They're like, oh, he's throwing shade at Michigan State. I don't know if that's true. ESPN
Twitter.
may have just picked
Historically even headed when it
something.
comes
Yes,
to
you're
this
right.
stuff.
Thank you, Josh. Yes. So I'm sure, all level heads there. We talked about some good teams. I just have to throw it out there. I know I talk about the Lions on a weekly basis and how they are breaking
No, you
my
talk
heart.
about it again.
They're no longer breaking my heart because guys are exactly where we need them to be. They are poised to get that coveted number 1 pick. So can't wait for that.
Hey, Bryce Young.
Can't wait for them to not abuse that. Yeah.
Bryce Young coming to Detroit.
I would be okay
Should
with
be.
that.
Actually, no. You guys are going to take Will Levis. Maybe
No,
Anthony
I will-
Richardson.
If the Lions draft Will Levis, I quit. Now, I should say if they take Will Levis in the first round, I quit. If he falls like second or third round, whatever, totally fine with that. If they take Will Levis with like the first pick or like wherever the Rams pick ends up in the first round, if they take him with either pick, it's going to be tough. That's going to be rough.
Also, Twitter must have been outraged enough to get ESPN to fix because it does say Michigan State.
Oh, does it?
for
Okay.
Kenneth Walker.
Either that or someone did a very crafty Photoshop just to draw some attention. Well done if that's the case.
Yeah.
Any
Well,
other thoughts?
Both your teams struggle busting right now. You're welcome to hop on the Bengals bandwagon for the year.
I mean, I
if you
do
would like
already.
to.
Like the Bengals are for sure my adopted AFC team. Josh is not allowed,
Yeah.
but
yeah, that's
sorry.
true. Josh, go away.
I'm sorry. I've been looking at what I'm following because there's some real drama heating up.
There is.
What were you guys saying?
Don't worry about it. We're just saying that you're
Oh,
stuck
good.
being a Steelers fan, and we hope you enjoy it.
Listen, slow roll. Keep Mitch in. This is what I said.
This is
Keep Mitch in.
Yep.
For the 2 years we have him. Let Kenny develop, and at the end of next season, after you guys have gone barely 500 again, dump Mitch, and
Super
Kenny
Bowl.
will be ready.
Yep.
He's still
they're
Super
not
Bowl.
going 500 this year.
No.
No, they ain't going 500 this year.
No.
That
No,
streak
not
is
with three.
over.
Not with three. Yeah, not with 3 picks a game. They're not.
No.
Yeah. Johnny, you had
Eric-
a note about the Colts. I'm curious your thoughts on
Yes.
this because this is an interesting kind of development as of the last few hours.
I just wanted to talk about this because it was so wild. I'm just, watching pregame Monday Night Football, and I got an alert before that and everything. And the Colts announced today that Matt Ryan is not only not playing. Now, he hurt a shoulder, but not like a severe injury, just hurt his shoulder. They announced today that he's not. They did not announce that he's just not starting the next game. They announced that he's benched the rest of the season. 1, why on earth do you announce that?
Yeah.
2, Sam Ellinger is announced as the starter for the rest of the season. Nick Foles will back him up. The Colts have underperformed this season, not all because of Matt Ryan. Now, Matt Ryan has thrown a league-leading 9 picks and fumbled 3 times. That's a big problem. Part of that's the offensive line has played very poorly this season. They're unable to run the ball. They actually rank one of the worst teams in the league, with Jonathan Taylor, mind you, at rushing the ball. I don't understand what this regression is from their offensive line and play calling. Matt Ryan's not the solution, but he really doesn't seem like the problem here. You're 3-3-1. You're a half game out of first place in your division. It seems like a total panic move. This feels like a Jim Irsay ownership involvement. He has been extremely impatient with the Colts. 1 year, Phillip Rivers. 1 year,
they've had a different starting quarterback week 1 5 years in a row.
Yes, you had Jacoby Brissett before that. Now you have Matt Ryan. There's no patience here. Now, this is also what happens when you're just grabbing random veterans off the street and trading for them as well, rather than let me go draft and develop a quarterback. Geno Smiths are very rare. In fact, I've never really seen that happen before. Crazy. For as long as I've watched the NFL, that a guy's a starter, gets benched, is a backup for a long time, comes back, and is fantastic again. I hope it keeps going. Geno, that's been a fun story. But anyway, kind of crazy overreaction, very emotional from the Colts. That does not feel like anything that a coach would do. So, but it definitely seems within the personality traits of Jim Irsay.
It does.
So he's really kind of imploding the season for the Colts right now. I feel like it's a nuclear option, especially like you could have just said, hey, Matt's not healthy, Sam's starting this week, and left it at that.
That's such a better way to do it.
I don't understand nope, Matt's benched for the season. Like, he's not even the backup. Nick Foles is the backup. Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's also crazy. I know things have not gone according to plan for the Colts, but they're 3-3, and the Titans are the only team in front of them, and they're 4-2. You're one game out of the division lead.
You're in the wild card race still.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand.
Like, that seems like a panic move if you are like the Browns and you started 2-5 and you're like, okay, we got to do something other than Jacoby Brissett. And obviously that's not necessarily the problem in Cleveland either. But yeah, I'm with you. It was shocking how the news was delivered. It's not the fact that Matt Ryan's not the quarterback for the next week or two, but it's so definitive. Why? Yeah. I don't know why you would say that, Johnny. I think you're right. It's got to be Irsay's involvement, because I don't think, I really don't think a coach would make that kind of call.
Mm-mm. And if we know anything about the NFL, meddling ownership always is rewarded with great results on the football field.
That is correct. Yep. So that's what's happening in the NFL. There's obviously lots more happening that we didn't even get a chance to talk about. We really didn't talk about the really, really good teams. I mean, we're talking about the 5-1 Buffalo Bills. The Kansas City Chiefs are 5-2. The Eagles are 6-0. The Vikings are 5-1. The Packers are 3-4, which, hey, if the Lions are going to be bad, let's take the Packers down with us. Excellent. And Johnny, your Vikings pick is finally coming to fruition, it appears. So well done.
I was right about the Packers and Buccaneers. I was just wrong about, and I was right about the Vikings. I was just very wrong about the Saints too. Given they're one game out of first.
They're 1 game out. They're 2-5 and 1 game out.
They're 2-5, 1 game out, man.
Oh man,
NFC South is pretty bad.
Well, you know what the NFC South reminds me of, guys? The NFC South reminds me of the Big Ten West Division, and there is an extraordinary matchup between Iowa and Northwestern. And why is it extraordinary? 2 things. Number one, it's because this game could be so ugly. Do not be warned. There should be parental guidance involved if you decide to let your child watch this football game. We advise you strongly to read the reviews for what this game could be like, and then make your informed decision from there. So obviously, because these 2 teams are playing. Oh, and the second thing is that this could be, if the line holds where it's at, this will be the lowest over-under in college football history. So, of course, with stuff like that, we are making it our picks of the week. So picks of the week, if you're new, we do it every week. We make a picks. We assign points every week. We've done it since episode 1, and our current scoreboard reads myself with 45 points, Josh with 43, you're catching up, and Jonny with 39. So we got a couple of points assigned this week. One was we did not get a chance to air this part of the podcast, but we did make our picks for the first game of the NBA season, which has been off to a great start. So Josh, well done. You picked Boston to beat Philly. Both Jonny and I got the Sixers pick wrong.
Philly's,
so well done.
Philly's eyeing some stuff next season. They're not done tanking just yet.
Look, you knew something had to go wrong, right? Like the Flyers inexplicably started 3-0. The Phillies are obviously in the World Series. It's taken us this long to acknowledge that. Well done, Phillies. Well done, Astros. We'll talk about more about that next week. So you knew something bad had to happen, and so far it's been the Sixers and Embiid and all of that mess. And Doc Rivers, that's probably a different time for a different day. But well done, Josh. Point of the story. You got a point there, a solo point. Well done. And then I actually got a solo point because, unfortunately, the Astros won the American League pennant. I would have taken really any other team, but look, the Astros are just incredible. Like, cheating aside, it is really quite actually incredible what they've been able to do and how consistent they've been able to do it. We'll see if the Phillies have it in them to take down another 100+ win team. So that's happening in the World Series, but that's where we got our points. So I've got a 2-point lead. And of course, that takes us into this Iowa Northwestern game. So I am going to pick the Hawkeyes to win, but it is only because for the second straight week and for I don't know how many weeks, the defense will outscore the Iowa offense. That could have been our picks of the week. Who will score more points, the Iowa defense or the Iowa offense? I'm taking the Hawkeyes, but more on the Wildcats in just a minute.
I shouldn't, because Iowa's defense is fantastic. And it's infuriatingly fantastic because they should be a top 15 minimum team with that type of defense. And they threw for 49 yards. And I realize, well, first off, it makes you wonder how Michigan let them put 249 on them.
Something like that.
Yeah. You almost feel bad because you're like, Iowa, you are so close to something scary. Anyway.
Oh, it's scary.
It's scary. But I'm taking Northwestern.
Yes. Good job, Josh.
I'm going to take them. I'm going 13-9. I'm only going one touchdown scored, period.
Amazing.
It is, what am I calling? I guess I'm calling 5 field goals at that point.
Yep.
I'm going with Iowa. My final score is 15-8. And 15-8 because the game deserves that type of score. 2, at 15-8, there could be touchdowns or there could be no touchdowns scored. There could be safeties. There could be no safeties. Not a clue. You don't know. Iowa's defense probably, or special teams probably scores a touchdown in this game. Maybe they won't miss an extra point. They're too good at that. The special teams is also 2/3 of the Hawkeyes team is fantastic. That offense. Oof. Kirk Ferentz, I don't love saying hey, you need to fire people, especially family members, but fire your son. He is awful.
Take the offensive playbook, just give it the once over, and then fire it into the sun.
Well, the problem is it's the same binder from 50 years ago.
That's true.
That Hayden Fry gave to Kirk when he took the job.
Yeah.
He hasn't
HB
changed
Slam
anything.
is good for 6 yards every time. 4 to 6 yards every time. Why would I ever change anything ever?
Oh, man. Yeah, you're right. Brian Ferentz has been playing Madden 02 for 20 years. Yeah, you're right.
It is a maddening thing.
It's bad. It's bad when Golf Digest has a full article on this.
Oh no!
Do they really?
Yeah. Golf Digest 8 hours ago. They're talking about it.
Oh, jeez.
The average golfer scores more points than Iowa's offense.
Yeah.
It is so bad, and we're not overreacting here. They are actually the worst offense in the entire country. They average almost 30 yards less a game than the second worst team, UMass. And UMass has been atrocious for the last 2 decades. I can't explain the stubbornness from Iowa. All of that said, Northwestern is real bad this year. They're lucky they got that one against Nebraska and Ireland, because they're real bad. And there's not a chance that Northwestern, in my mind, really wins this game in Iowa City, unless the fans just completely turn on the team and start cheering for Northwestern, which I wouldn't be against.
Yeah, and I could say from someone that hung out near, I didn't go to the game, but was hanging out near the stadium in Columbus on Saturday, did see plenty of Fire Brian Ferentz shirts from Iowa fans, so it's possible. But, and I'll guide us into what we're following. Yes, Northwestern's had a very disappointing season. Usually this is they go on this pattern where every other year they're really good. And this was supposed to be the year that they kind of rebounded from, I believe, a 3-9 season last year.
It's an even year. They're supposed to, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But what if I told you that Northwestern had the entire Big Ten West exactly where they wanted them? I introduced to you, and I have to give all the credit in the world to @Sickos Committee on Twitter. If you do not follow the Sickos Committee on Twitter, then you need to go do that right now, because just elite level content. Cannot say enough about the Sickos Committee. We are proud voting members of the Sickos Top 25 poll.
Yes, we are.
I had Iowa as my number 1 team to begin the year. They have not let me down. Gentlemen, I introduce to you the Big Ten West 7-way tie with Northwestern starting the season 1-8 and winning with a 4-8 record and going to the Rose Bowl if they beat Ohio State or Michigan at 5-8. The Rose Bowl would basically have to let in a 5-8 Northwestern team. Here's how it happens. Now,
my eyes.
Yeah, stick with me here. This is a lot, but it'll be worth it. Hang on. Illinois has to lose to Nebraska, beat Michigan State, lose out. Iowa has to beat Northwestern, so we do need Northwestern to lose this week. Beat Purdue, lose to Wisconsin, lose to Minnesota, beat Nebraska. Minnesota, and some of these aren't worth mentioning. I will say this, looking at this entire thing, let me tell you what Northwestern has to do, and then I'll move on, because I'm not going to, I started to give you all the teams and then realized that's going to take forever. Northwestern will lose to Iowa, has to lose to Ohio State, and then has to beat Minnesota, Purdue, Illinois. Now, that's a tall task for Northwestern.
That is a big one.
But it's not the craziest thing. Like,
no.
There are crazier things have happened already.
Crazier things have happened. Illinois has to lose to Michigan. Great, because if if Northwestern had to beat Ohio State, or if Illinois had to beat Michigan, you'd probably be thinking to yourself, okay, haha, this is funny. I'm here to hang on to this 7-way tie with just as tightly as I can grip it, and I'm going to hang on. And this is what we need for this week. I'll give you this week. We need Nebraska to beat Illinois. We need Iowa to beat Northwestern. We need Rutgers to beat Minnesota. And we need Purdue's on a bye week. And we need Wisconsin to beat Maryland. I think we can get there, guys. I think we can get there.
I think that's very reasonable.
I think Rutgers is going to have the toughest chance beating Minnesota, but that is quite possible. Although
Rutgers could beat Minnesota. Tanner Morgan might not even be playing.
That's true.
Still.
That's true.
And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for Minnesota.
I don't
at
either.
this point.
So there you go. Guys, if you don't have rooting interest in college football, if you're just listening to us out of the kindness of your heart because you enjoy supporting the three of us, great. But here's your rooting interest. Now you have something to root for. Just absolute insane chaos. And yes, Northwestern, after all of that, would win with a Big West record of 4-2. There'd be 5 teams with a 3-3 record. Nebraska would finish with a 2-4 record, dead last in the West. And the Wildcats 4-8 in Indianapolis.
Oh, that is just horrible. You know what else is horrible? I'll just jump into
good
mine,
segue, Johnny.
Let's hit you with
do it.
Dude, go for it.
Weber State Special Teams Unit, specifically for the long snapper. And man, I don't want to bury the poor kid because wow, this is on the coaches too.
Be the first time anything was buried.
Keep snapping the ball, but I haven't even told you what I'm talking about yet. For Weber State, they had a record giving up 4 safeties in their game against Montana State this this week.
Iowa's in shambles right now.
I mean, just wow. Iowa's special teams unit is watching that tape this week, seeing what they can take from it and try to get some more points on the board since their offense clearly can't. But all 4 safeties were due to high snaps. All of them.
It wasn't even it was terrible. It was feet. It was several feet above the head.
It's not on the punter.
No, it's not. It wasn't.
At a certain point, I'm like, Coach, why are you doing this? I also say this because this was a wild game. I mean, Weber State also scored on a kick return for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown. They blocked a punt themselves. I mean, special teams had a field day in this game. Here's the saddest part. Weber State lost to Montana State 43-38. They gave up 4 safeties.
All their points.
Oh, I mean, just a killer.
If I'm the snapper, I turned in my papers today. I turned in my resignation from sports.
I'm snapping the ball into the dirt. How are you?
I'm standing up and walking it back to him.
By the way,
after the second one, I'm snapping that ball into the ground and hoping it bounces to my punter. There's not a chance I'm snapping it over his head again. There just isn't.
I learned this week, guys, partially because of this game. Technically, and now maybe I'm wrong about this. Again, maybe this is Twitter gaslighting me. That technically you don't have to snap the ball between your legs. Technically, you could pick the ball up from your kind of crouched position and throw it backwards.
That right now.
It's just obviously not very practical. Like, you're probably going to get blown up by a defensive lineman if you try to do that. But apparently,
but after
it's not illegal.
Safeties, I'm trying something else.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where I say on the coaches at a certain point, should you be able to snap it? Yes, but clearly you can't. That's like having a field goal kicker who can't make any kind of field goal, and you're like, still keep trotting him out there. No, go for it on 4th down. Like, you're just hurting yourself. Turn it over on downs at this point. You're better off than giving up a safety every time. Oh, I mean, just a killer. I feel bad for the kid. I mean, I hope he has to carry a ball around campus and just anytime he sees a person 10 yards away from him, he just has to get down and snap the ball to him. It's a wild time, man.
I don't go here normally. Man, I don't go here normally, but I am on the NCAA rules page.
Oh, okay.
Just to make sure, I am in section 23, article 1.
It's a fun time. It's a good read as someone who's done it before.
Section G. The snap need not be between the snapper's legs, but to be legal, it must be a quick and continuous backward motion.
Okay. From
the ground back to the punter with one continuous motion. Otherwise, it's considered a
false start.
It's considered a backwards pass, and the ball is in play.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the ball didn't play either way, so yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's not a massive risk, guys. Just basically throw your quarterback out there and just have him do a quick.
Listen, I'm a Bengals fan. I understand the need for good long snappers. That the Bengals would have at least one more win if it wasn't for an injury to a long snapper. But
yeah, hug your long snap. Wow, let me try that again. Hug your long snappers, guys, because they're people and they're important, and you forget that they exist until something like this happens. So
yes,
yeah, they're
you know what else is important?
Oh, tell us, Josh.
Food. Specifically, down in Texas, barbecue. Now, Aaron, when I brought you down, Johnny, you've not visited me yet, and that's okay. No shame. But Aaron, when you visited me last year,
he just goes to South Dakota by himself.
Listen, to be fair, we don't have a bad land. I mean, I could take you to Big Bend. It would be 9 hours away from here.
No, that's not bad.
It's not bad, but like if you're coming in for a weekend trip, it's hard to justify that. Just fly to San Antonio. I'll meet you there. But and it would still be 6 hours. But down here in Texas, barbecue's a big thing, and it is a family business. I took you to a barbecue place called Lockhart's.
It's the best barbecue I've ever had, and
it's just fantastic.
Very true with you.
You're correct. It is the best barbecue. It's my favorite down here so far. But there's another barbecue place that I've been to down here that's fantastic as well. A place called Terry Black's. Just sent you guys a picture in our group text of some of the beef ribs and brisket and all of that, and just look at the luscious thick smoke ring on that rib. It is to die for. Terry Black's
Is this a picture you took,
started in
Josh?
Austin. This is my picture. This is
excellent.
from
Excellent.
Yeah, this is I did eat this. It's guys, it's walking distance from my place. It's like a mile down the road. And it is right along the way of all the hospitals that I have to pass. And so if I go into cardiac arrest, I just kind of walk right in and say, "Hey, it happened."
That's well planned.
You wouldn't be the first, probably.
It's fantastic. Yeah, they're like, "Oh, Terry Black's, yeah." Well, Terry Black's has 3 locations. One, the original one in Austin, opened in 2014. They've won a billion awards. They're fantastic. They opened one in Dallas, 2019. That's the one I've been to. They also have one in Lockhart, Texas. Now, what's interesting is there was already a barbecue place in Lockhart, Texas called Black's Barbecue.
Okay.
Not Terry Black's, Black's.
Oh.
And I think you might know, are these 2 places affiliated? Not anymore. See, Terry Black used to be the owner, president, and pitmaster of Black's Barbecue in Lockhart, Texas. Up until, I believe, 2013, around that time, when his younger brother and alleged favorite child of his mother kicked him out of his own restaurant due to some, I cannot tell what the most generic term I can see is, lease disagreements as far as like ownership and stuff. Terry Black he was the president of the operations, but didn't do restaurant stuff apparently. And it would have been, who was the other guy? Who was his friend, or who is his brother? I want to say it was Hank. Let's see here. Was it Hank or was it Mark? No. Give me one sec. I gotta figure out. There's so many guys named Black. It was a big family. Let's see here. Kent. There it is. Kent Black. Kent and Terry. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't Kent. Terry's son, Michael. Guys, there were so many. I'm gonna do a new take on this. There were so many people involved in this. It is a whole soap opera. So, Terry Black gets ousted from his position in November of 2013, where the younger son and Terry's brother Kent became pitmaster, effectively taking over. Well, Terry was very upset about that, understandably so, and went to Austin, and within a year started Terry Black's. And Terry Black's, I'll tell you, I've not been to Lockhart's to go to Black's Barbecue, but my goodness, fantastic stuff. So now Terry Black's has built itself up. It's got 2 very good restaurants. He went and just built a Terry Black's in Lockhart, Texas, mere blocks away from the original Black's restaurant, which, by the way, is just about at its centennial. I think it was started in like 1932, around that time. It's so petty.
Pettiness.
Mm-hmm. It's absolutely, 1932 is when it was opened. So just about 10 years shy of its centennial. The shade throwing has been fantastic. They both have signs, and they both use them to their fullest extent. So Black's Barbecue, the place that was first there, had a sign when Terry Black's opened, stating that they were the quote, only one original Black's Barbecue in Lockhart. That's what they threw on their sign as Terry Black's was getting built and opened up. In response, Terry Black's opened up on its marquee, Pitmaster, where the title is earned not because Mama said so.
Wow.
Later on, Black's Barbecue accidentally, I don't know, maybe it's in quotes.
Accidentally.
Underpaid its staff by about $230,353. So then Terry Black's put out another 230,353 reasons why you should eat at Terry Black's Barbecue.
Dang.
This has been this. I mean, this literally did just open a few weeks. I mean, just like mere months ago. This article's from like the end of September. So this isn't quite a chess heads because I don't know. Down here, it is treated as a sport. It's a competition down here. These barbecue competitions. I'm not going to quite count it as chess heads, but I will tell you, the barbecue fandom is heating up, and it's going to mean good barbecue. How far is Lockhart from here? I'm going to figure out. I'm going to let you know in a second.
Josh, if you allow, I do have a special
and I do
bonus episode of Chess Heads.
Oh, a bonus chess heads?
Because
guys, they're just south of Austin. I can make that.
You can do that
work.
because there's an actual development in our original Chess Heads story, which goes back weeks at this point. So you all remember Hans Niemann, accused of cheating. Basically, you know how this started, right? Magnus Carlsen leaves this tournament. When asked about it, he basically sends a clip of a video saying, "If I speak, I get in trouble." Well, then he spoke, right? And basically came out and said, yeah, he's cheated. Chess.com has said, yeah, it turns out he's cheated a bunch. And then Hans Niemann said, well, tough. Here's a $100 million lawsuit. Actually, 3 separate $100 million lawsuits. One on Magnus Carlsen, one on Chess.com, and another on I don't have his name right here, but another grandmaster who basically just gave commentary on what was happening with all this. So Niemann is basically trying to get as much money as the entire chess, chess scene probably brings in. So breaking news, this happened like 2 days ago, lawsuit time and for chess heads. So this story is not going anywhere, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, chess.com, I'm trying to remember when we talked about it. They released a 72-page article, reports rather, with all of the findings, with receipts, with everything. So he's suing them, he's suing Niemann, and he's suing Grandmaster Hikaru Nakamura. Yes, I believe. Which is, gosh, how did I miss this? See, this is why I need a separate Twitter account for chess heads, and you guys can send all of this to me.
That's right.
That is absolutely insane, you guys.
Yeah. It was filed in Missouri. Actually, I'm sure there's some reason why it was filed in Missouri, but anyways, I
believe it's probably the original, because the original tournament was held in St. Louis. My guess is he's filing in Missouri because that's when the original infraction took place.
Gotcha.
I did not take business law, but that would make sense to me.
That would make sense to me as well, as someone who did take business law. All right, well done, everybody. Thanks for what we're following. Got some juicy items there. We'll continue to monitor all of those things, including that 7-way tie in the Big Ten West. My hope and my dream is that we can report back to you next week and say this dream is still alive. Will that happen? Who knows? We will find out.
Yes, it will happen.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We've got some good college football as always next week. We've got Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Ohio State, Penn State. You've got Kentucky, Tennessee. Will that be interesting at all? We'll find out. We've got Florida, Georgia, and then we're primed for Georgia, Tennessee the following week. So we're quickly winding down the college football schedule, and that college football playoff is becoming more and more clear as we are now down to only 6 undefeated teams in college football. Well, we hope you have a great rest of your week. By the way, didn't mention this earlier, but we had a sports equinox. That was only the 27th time that had happened. The NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, and NBA all played on the same day. I believe, depending on how the World Series goes, that could happen again. If you're wondering why this rare occurrence is happening multiple times in 1 year, it's because if you remember way back to April, Major League Baseball got off to a bit of a rough start. So they're about a week behind where they usually are in their postseason. So that is why. But enjoy the sports
MLS playoffs. Too.
MLS playoffs. Yep, can't forget that. That's going on. So enjoy all of that. We will be back next week. Until then, have a good one. We'll see you then.
Aaron, I'm just finally looking at my picks because I knew that they were just absolutely horrendous last week. And I finally actually looked. I knew that they were bad. Goodness.
Yeah,
I had some rough breaks with a few of them. Other ones, I still am looking there were a couple results that I'm still just stunned by that happened.
I didn't. So one of
We'll
those
talk
results I
about
was stunned by. Yeah, we'll talk about it. I didn't realize till Sunday. I just wasn't tracking it. The UCF score. I saw that on Sunday somehow for the first time, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
I worried about it, but they played just so well.
I know.
Like those are the three teams that the 3 games that truly, absolutely just destroyed me were the group of 5 that I just had a lot of confidence in. Because if I just get those 3, I salvage the week. But yeah, I mean Toledo choked it away. They had that game. UCF and BYU, I'm like the games weren't close, like stunning. Those games were absolutely. Did you get those games? Any of those right?
I don't think I got them right. I just had them
low.
Yeah.
I had them at 9, 8, and 7.
Whew.
So that was the just murderer's row.
Yeah, what was my
I got
record
9,
last
8,
week?
7, 6, and 5.
Because you went 3 and
That
7.
is-
I went
Yeah,
1.
it was one of
2,
my
3,
worst.
4. I went 5. Oh, because you had SMU as well. I got Cincinnati right, and I had them 8 points. So
that was my one. So that like didn't kill. I mean, SMU was really close with a backup quarterback. I mean, it's just probably should have won the game. Texas should have won. That was a last minute switch, so I'm ticked off about that one. I had Oklahoma State, but then Oklahoma State had the guy who opted out of the season after one loss, which you can do whatever you want. But I was like, to get ready for the draft. Like, again, it's his life. He can do what he wants. I will always have that take. But, dude, one loss?
yeah, that's what was keeping you on the team. Like, your playoff hopes are still there. You went out. There's a decent chance.
Yeah, like, you're not dead. And that's the only reason I can think of that. But, like, Oklahoma State's just been killed by injuries. So I just kind of was like, and they just kept naming injuries as the game got closer.
Yeah.
And
By
I
the way,
was
Curtis,
like,
what's up, man?
I'm out.
Yeah, Curtis, you're right. Everyone did have a rough week. I think that was, I think it was a rough pick week for everybody. Some just took it on the nose a little bit more than others. But yeah, it was a wild week. Yeah,
I got LSU right.
That's good.
that was the one game that I felt really good about LSU winning that game. So I felt good. I've been calling Ole Miss fake for like 4 weeks straight. So I'm glad I was actually right about that one. That would have been that one would have been embarrassing. And man, I'm just surprised. I am stunned by how good Oregon is. Wow. I mean, good job, Oregon.
I mean,
well done.
Bo Nix, man. How easy
what the heck?
How easy would it have been for Bo Nix just to kind of give up right off into the sunset after all? Like, talking about so many ups and downs, so much pressure coming in. You thought he was going to be the savior of Auburn, and man, the fact that he's playing with this amount of confidence, this level of plays, I hope Oregon does some good stuff. I think
he's just terrified of Georgia. I hope he has a nice golden retriever or something, because maybe he's just scared of bulldogs. I don't know.
I do think Oregon is the most likely team to win the Pac-12. But the problem is again, a very real scenario is that Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship.
That's the worst. That's a terrible scenario for them.
Yeah.
Oregon has to be the
They need
3
Georgia
seed.
to win it. They need Georgia to win the SEC. Oregon is a huge Georgia fan.
Oh yeah.
The margin of defeat is a big issue.
Yeah.
I think it being basically a road game though, and week 1.
Yep.
The committee has shown losses late hurt you far greater than early losses. I completely agree with. You're not the same team. This Oregon team still probably loses to Georgia, but I think they lose by 10. I don't think they just get the brakes beaten off of them like they did week 1.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's been incredible. The Pac-12 and Big 12 are impossible to predict.
Yeah.
On a week-to-week basis.
Mm-hmm.
On a week-to-week basis, they are impossible to pick games.
Yeah.
Just so hard.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, Josh, thanks for joining us. Thanks for recording
of
tonight.
course.
Appreciate it as always.
Yeah, that was fun.
We'll do it again next week. I'll try to get a guest
Absolutely.
wrangled here in the next week or two if I can. So,
Oh, that'll be fun.
Yeah, and we got World Cup coming up in like 4 weeks from today, I think. So
Yes.
that's quickly
4 weeks.
approaching. Man, crazy.
Wow.
Talk about sports equinox.
Yeah.
Baseball will be gone. That's okay.
Cannot wait. Cannot wait for 1776 to happen again.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That will be fun.
Yes. All right, I watched a little bit of Austin Dallas yesterday. That was,
Oh, Dallas
I
almost
know.
tied
I'm
it.
with you.
That was,
it
so,
was
close.
so close.
It was a great goal. It was the right call.
It really
the
was.
ball did go out of bounds. Aaron, they had a great ball. He's sliding out the back line and crosses it in with his left foot, and it's just a beautiful finish by his teammate on the backside in air. The ball just barely had completely crossed the line though, so
Dang.
and that would have tied it in like the 88th minute. So
Yeah, it was right there.
it was so close.
They tried. They tried so hard.
Yeah, but LAFC
Regardless
still
of where.
alive, which I
LAFC
think
still
did we
alive.
all did we all
I think
pick
we all
LAFC?
had them at least in our final. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I actually have to check the East. I'm not sure. So it's LAFC and Austin in the final, I believe, at this point. I should know this.
Yes.
And then it's Montreal did lose to NYFC.
By the way, a little breaking news from
last
the
night.
NFL: James Robinson, the Jets have acquired in a trade.
From Washington?
I think from
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, right?
Jacksonville. Yeah, so it's Aaron, you had Philly, right?
I believe so. I think I had Philly over
Winning the whole
LA.
thing. Yeah, Josh, what did you? Do you remember who you picked?
Did it again?
Do you remember who you
For
picked
what?
in MLS? We got LAFC and Austin.
Oh, in
facing
MLS?
each other,
That's a
and
great
Philly
question.
and New York. NYFC.
I
can't remember.
feel like
I know I had LA winning the whole thing. Montreal just got knocked out.
LA. I'm trying to remember who I would have picked. I'm trying to remember who I picked in the East. That feels like forever ago. Let me see.
The
if I
East
can
is where
find
we
that.
all differed, so I couldn't. That's not a big deal. Philly
Yeah.
should beat
What
NYCFC,
episode would we have
but
done that
they're
on?
hot. A couple weeks ago.
82, 83. One of those. Probably.
Yeah.
It wasn't last
Okay.
week. I know. Probably the week
Yeah,
before.
I think it was 2 weeks ago, but it could have been 3. Anyway,
Gotcha, I'll check.
LAFC is looking really good right now. But New York City is really hot and Philly's good. So I would be pretty shocked if Austin beat LAFC. But on one game, it's easy to lose. So
Yeah, I have Montreal.
oh, okay, we both had Montreal. So Aaron's
Yeah,
the only
Montreal
one
over LA.
person left in the East, and then did you guys both pick LAFC to lose? I think
I think
I'm
so.
the only one who had them
I
winning.
did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you had. Yeah, Aaron had Philly over LA.
Aaron's the only person with 2 left, and I have the yeah. Okay. Yep. Cool. That's the only other
Regardless
point
of
thing
where
I
I
think we have
move.
going.
Yeah.
I need to use the restroom. Aaron, are we doing the football?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. I'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Bye, Josh. If
Hi.
gone.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I gotta go read. What am I reading? Oh no, where's the book? Where is
Yeah,
the
that's
book?
Curtis. That's interesting for the Jets because obviously didn't mention it, but if you're not tracking, for those out there, Brees Hall out with an ACL that was announced today. So, I mean that's a big pickup for the Jets. It sounded like they only had to give up a 6th-round pick. Apparently, that could become a 5th-round pick. But pretty interesting. I mean, the Jets are 5-2 and thinking that hey, we can win now. So good for them. We'll see. We'll see.
All right, I'm off to go read. We love it.
Sounds good, Josh. Thanks. I'll talk to you.
All right.
I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. All right, sounds good.
See ya.
Bye.
All right, I gotta get. Obviously, if you're familiar with the podcast, we've got some, excuse me, some new overlays. So I gotta get Johnny's camera on here first. So don't mind me doing something I didn't have ready for the stream, like usual. Nope, that's not it. I can do this. Where is Jonny? On this. Is it this? Nope, still not that. Oh wait, I know what the problem is. Hang on. Nope. Still not it. We're getting closer. We'll do this. Now you know why I do this. I try to do this before the stream because it's like it's very tedious. And I didn't build the overlay like quite right. Like I probably should have left like the back of it transparent, but it's alright. It is what it is. Oh, I need to. Alright. Curtis, I'm curious if you're still hanging out. I'm curious your thoughts on the Colts because we were talking about that earlier. Just a very bizarre way to announce that Matt Ryan was benched for the season. Like he's not healthy. So you could have led with that. You could have just said, Matt Ryan, not healthy, Sam Ehlinger playing. That's all you had to say. Instead, the Colts come out with a statement that, like, Sam Ehlinger is our starter for the rest of the season. Nick Foles is going to back him up. And Matt Ryan's benched for the whole season. Like, we kind of speculated that had Jim Irsay's fingerprints all over it. Because I don't, like, what coach is going to go to that kind of length to talk about the quarterback situation? Like coaches notoriously would just not show up to the media at all if they didn't have to, which I get to a certain extent. But yeah, I thought that was a really very bizarre way to kind of handle that. Very, very bizarre for a team, mind you, that has not lived up to the expectations that they had for themselves for the season, but they're 3-3. And Tennessee is 4-2, and I don't trust Tennessee. I mean, I don't trust Tennessee to like run away with the division by any stretch of the imagination. So, I don't know. I thought that was that was quite interesting, and mostly unnecessary. I don't quite get that, but so that happened. For Buckeye fans, apparently, there's a stat out there now that Ohio State is 10-0 in games following a Taylor Swift album release. I'll get Johnny's thoughts on this because he's a big Taylor Swift fan. I'm not so much. Johnny, we got to talk Taylor Swift into dropping an album. Like, if Ohio State gets to the championship game, like, we got to find a way to just get Taylor Swift to drop an album because, did you know, Ohio State 10-0 following a Taylor Swift release.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Apparently, again, Twitter may be gaslighting
just the
me.
week after.
Just
also.
the week after, yes.
Oh, okay.
Could be
okay.
again. Twitter could be gaslighting me again.
I saw that Oregon sign. They're 9-1 now,
Are they really?
so they're pretty good after.
They're probably the second best team. Apparently, only Ohio State. Like that's the best record of any team. So, Rick basically was saying it wasn't working out, not blaming Ryan because the Colts didn't provide what they promised. Good run game protection. Yeah, I mean you're right. Like the offensive line's been abysmal, which is odd because you thought they would have one of the better. Well, again, I'm not going to pretend to be super in tune with what the Colts were doing this offseason, but I just kind of figured they would have one of the better lines going into this year. I mean, they did last year to a certain extent. So
it's not just the problem with the Colts is they're really good at the positions you don't need players to be good at. Like that's the ultimate problem of their roster construction. And it's not that you don't want players good at those positions. I'm talking guard, running back, safety, and linebacker. Those are like their best players on the team. And like you want good players there. Of course you do.
Right. But
those aren't your key positions on the football field. You need a quarterback. You need a left tackle. You need a great wide receiver, which I'll give them. They do have Pittman, looks excellent. But you need corners. They don't have any elite players at any of the important positions. Gosh, it still feels like such an overreaction, though, just based on what their record is. And I know they played really, really bad. It just feels like the nuclear option right now. It feels so unnecessary. Like if you just say that Sam Ellinger's your starter for the week. And you know what? Like, if things get really bad 2-3 weeks down the road, then you can do it and kind of just mail it in for the season. But why now? I do not understand the thought process in Indy, but I think it's just Jim Irsay being very emotional. And that was what got that's what got Carson Wentz in the building and out of the building in less than a year. So,
that's been a
ownership
revolving door there. Yep.
Yeah, ownership meddling is not the ideal, man. Not the ideal.
Yeah. Mac Jones may come back for the Patriots, by the way, tonight. I know that game's probably literally about to kick off here.
Yeah, I know they said he's eligible. Why would you?
Yeah,
like I don't understand.
I could probably win a game for the Patriots tonight.
That makes no sense. Like, if he's not 100% healthy, and Bailey Zappi's playing better than he was.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure that Bailey Zappi's better than Mac Jones, but they don't look a whole lot different. And Bailey's winning games, and not turning the ball over. So I really don't understand why you would rush him. It's kind of like Dak Prescott. Like, Dak is definitely better than Cooper, at least, though. He's definitely better. I don't think he's like miles better, though.
Yeah.
But they didn't have to rush him back. You were winning. So don't rush Dak back. You're winning games. And now Dak's thumb is seemingly healthy. Great. Now you get to put him back in, and the team is still doing really well. So you don't have to. When you're winning games, let your starter heal. Like, there's just absolutely no rush. It makes no sense. I bet Bailey Zappi still plays tonight. I'd just be surprised by Bill, but Bill's surprised me before, and that's what makes him the best coach ever. So,
yeah. By the way, apparently we're just in the process of breaking news here. Breaking news from the announcing arena. Jim Nantz will be calling his last Final Four in March.
Mm-hmm. Iron Eagle taking over.
I love Iron Eagle. He's fantastic. So, I mean, yes, it's tough to replace Jim Nantz, but I think he's great. So,
I would have preferred Gus Johnson.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I'll pause my music and pull up other football things. All right, well, welcome to another episode of Football Mondays. Jonny, good to be back with you. I guess we were here last week, but a little bit different. We're recording the normal time for this show, and another college football week is in the books. I don't know if we necessarily had any like huge upsets. I know we had several undefeated teams lose, but you could kind of see it coming, right? Like, you thought Oregon had a good chance at home against UCLA. You thought that LSU also had a good chance at home against Ole Miss. Those things played themselves out, and here we are with 6 undefeated teams left, and really, I would say maximum like 8, 9, maybe 10 teams that have a shot at the college football playoffs. So we're winding down, but just I'm curious your thoughts. I know you were traveling, so I don't know how invested you were able to get into this week of college football, but just kind of curious your thoughts from week 8 as we head to week 9.
A lot of close calls, a lot of clarity brought. And the Pac-12 and Big 12 specifically, those conferences are wild. But Oregon is in the driver's seat. TCU is now in the driver's seat, at least when it comes to those conference title games. You know, there's no division in either league. Oregon having that tiebreaker now over UCLA, though, and the only unbeaten in conference. Same with TCU. They got that tiebreaker now over Kansas State and over Oklahoma State. Both of them would just need implosions, really, to not make it at least to that championship game. Not that either team is flawless or, won't lose on the road there, but difficult seeing those two teams not at least playing in that game at this point. So a lot of clarity in that. Texas is not back still. UCLA, good, not great. Going to Autzen, though, is much tougher than people think.
Tough.
I would not make this an indictment on UCLA as a bad team. They ran into a buzzsaw in Oregon, which we've seen many teams fall prey to in the past. So don't count out the Bruins as far as playing Oregon again in that Pac-12 title game. I thought those were the two key conferences. And lastly, just the fact that, man, Clemson just, I don't know. I don't know how they escape. They don't deserve to escape. They are one of the most fortunate teams every single season, it feels like. And part of that's just the chaoticness of the ACC that they exist in. But, man, they escape again, yet again. And we're probably going to have to put them in the 4-team playoff. And I'm here to tell you,
they're going to get boat raced.
They are not one of the 4 best teams in the country. Yeah. Maybe they'll prove me wrong. I doubt it, but they will be the 4 seed most likely and get absolutely destroyed, because that is not a good team. Yeah. It's just not. They are surviving.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, man, I know we do try to be relatively neutral, but come on, if you're not a Clemson fan, you were rooting for Syracuse to win.
Yeah.
Like, you had to be insane. Unless your team benefited by a Clemson win, which your team did not benefit by a Clemson win. Like, there's no scenario in which that's true. So, I don't know.
It's like cheering against Kansas, but you're not going to do that.
Right. And look, I know they've done this for 20 years, but Clemson, you guys have to be like the cringiest fan base, like rushing the field after beating Syracuse. I know you do this whatever. Just Clemson drives me crazy. But anyways, we'll see. I mean, can Notre Dame put up a fight against them? Can South Carolina? I think South Carolina could. They certainly have a better offense. I don't think they're going to get shut out against Clemson. Clemson is not quite the same defensive team. Look, Oklahoma may not have their problems fixed with Brent Venables being there, but I think it's also clear that Brent Venables is missed at Clemson. That's not quite the same defense. I know they also lost a lot of talent. That also is first and foremost, and maybe why they're not quite as good as last year. But it's worth noting. I think Clemson finds a way to run the table, because clearly the Coastal, who knows who's coming out of the Coastal? Maybe Duke, apparently.
Here's my question for you, though.
For that one.
Here's my question for you on that. Does a 1-loss Clemson make the playoff? I don't think it's a shoo-in like a
no, certainly year. Not. Certainly
I think in a normal year, as long as that loss isn't in the conference title game, you would say, yeah. Like, they have a weird loss in the last 4 weeks. They lose to Notre Dame or South Carolina, but they win the conference. I think in a normal year, you'd be like, oh, yeah, they're in. But they have not looked the part this year at all.
No.
Not remotely. This is the same team that struggled for 3.5 quarters against Georgia Tech. And you never know when DJ's going to implode like this.
Yeah.
They're unprompted. They're not even caused by the defense, and you don't know why. And Clemson somehow has just been fortunate that he implodes against the right teams. Against Wake Forest, they lose by 30.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean that like Wake Forest is 30 points better than Clemson. They're not. But just with Wake's offense, they had to go like touchdown for touchdown with him. If he implodes in that game, Wake would have been up 30 like quickly, and it would have been done. You're just not coming back from that. So, gosh, they're infuriating. They're not a bad team, but you just like feel like you have to rank them at this point in the season when they're like 8-0 with technically three ranked wins. You feel like you have to put them up near that top 4, but you don't feel good about it at all. So I think they lose like one of those games, and I will be one of the biggest proponents of a 1-loss Big 12 team, even a 1-loss Pac-12 team, getting serious consideration over Clemson. I know Clemson has that history and merit when it comes to the playoff, but the Pac-12 is better than the ACC this year. So
certainly.
I will be a huge proponent for those two conferences if they also have 1-loss champions getting in over Clemson. And maybe we don't even have the conversation. It's trending towards that type of conversation for at least the 4th and final spot.
Yeah, because think about it this way, and I think truly we are far enough into the season that it is time to start making these speculations. We really haven't a whole lot. Not because it's not interesting, but just because it's like, well, this is going to change tomorrow.
Right.
I think we can say with 99% certainty, the Big Ten's getting a team in, either Ohio State or Michigan. I don't think Penn State finds a way to beat Ohio State, even though it's
What about 12-1 Illinois?
Yes, Johnny. With all due respect to what Brett Bielema has done, which has been absolutely incredible, the West is not winning the Big Ten championship in any situation. They're just not. And you know what? If they do, if Illinois is a one-loss Big Ten team, well, I say their schedule's not been great. But
And
they
the
play,
losses to Indiana.
But the first game of the season. But keep in mind they would have a win against Michigan because they do play Michigan. So,
and maybe Michigan twice or Michigan and Ohio State.
That scenario, they probably, well, yeah, it depends on who wins at Ohio State. Okay, so I take it back. You know what? If Illinois wins out, they're in the playoff. Hot take, but they beat Michigan and Ohio State. That's all I had to say about that. Yeah, so, but the Big Ten, getting a team in, either Ohio State or Michigan, I really struggle to find a way that does not happen. To me, 11-0 Ohio State, 11-0 Michigan, I'd be very surprised if that's not the case. And I said that from the beginning, and that's like the one thing I've gotten right so far this entire season, so I'm hanging on to it. I think the SEC certainly gets a team in. There's a scenario where there's 3 one-loss SEC teams. Now, I don't think that particular scenario happens. I do think Georgia beats Georgia beating Tennessee actually helps with that scenario.
Right.
Anyways, so point there.
Well, Kentucky. I think Kentucky probably gets one of them.
I don't.
I think Kentucky or South Carolina. I don't. And maybe I'm wrong. But I'm thinking like Georgia loses to Tennessee, Mississippi State, or Kentucky. I think they lose one of the 3 games. Sure. I really do. Tennessee plays Kentucky, Georgia, and South Carolina. I have a hard time believing the only loss there from Tennessee and Georgia is to one another. Again, I've been wrong plenty before. Alabama still has to play LSU.
Oh, yeah.
All of a sudden,
at LSU at night, by the way. It was announced at night.
All of a sudden, that game is very interesting. They have to play Ole Miss. I think that's a terrible matchup for Ole Miss. Yeah. So they will be destroyed, much like LSU just did to them.
And much like Alabama did to Mississippi State. Yeah.
Right. LSU is trending so well right now. That all of a sudden is a great game. So I just, even Aaron, if that situation somehow does happen, Georgia beats Tennessee. That's Tennessee's only loss. And then Georgia loses to Alabama, and that's Georgia's only loss. Correct. And you have 3 losses. Alabama has to be in because they won the conference. Unfortunately, that's just how it works. The situation really screws Tennessee.
It does.
Unfairly, just because of divisions, basically. Because if not for divisions, it would be a Georgia-Tennessee rematch. So it's just weird that way where like Tennessee's win over Alabama almost doesn't mean that much. So I hope that doesn't happen for their sake.
Yeah.
But even in that situation, Georgia or Tennessee gets left out. They're not putting 3 SEC teams in, guys. It's not happening. Clemson will be unbeaten. Maybe TCU's undefeated. Even if TCU's not, that's a 1-loss Big 12 champion. I think they find an excuse and a way to kick Tennessee or Georgia out.
Yeah.
In that. Do you disagree?
I don't know. Because I feel like the playoff committee changes so much on a year-by-year basis.
That's fair.
I don't know. Do they really value TCU? We personally don't. And in terms of them being the least valuable in our minds, the least valuable undefeated team, we actually have Alabama in front of them. And I think a lot of people feel the same way, and I don't think that's wrong. But the college football playoff committee is going to feel the same way.
Yeah. Yeah, the rankings will come out. Alabama will be ahead of TCU.
Now, if TCU runs the table, that's a different story. I don't think we think they will. I think we're talking about a 1-loss Big 12 champion.
Yeah, probably 1 loss.
And for
Oklahoma State, TCU.
Right. And for the purpose of this conversation, let's assume a 1-loss Pac-12 champion, either USC, Oregon. I think the Pac-12, especially if it's USC, has a great chance because they'll tell you brands don't matter. They do. Yeah, Money matters. They'd
love to put USC in.
Yes, they would.
They'd love to put USC
and it'd be great.
And USC's only loss is by 1.
Yeah, on the road to Utah.
Against Utah.
Yeah, in that environment.
Very excusable loss.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Very excusable loss. So, I just have a hard time in that scenario, especially if it's USC. USC's in. I'm sorry, Tennessee,
for sure.
or probably it's probably Tennessee, which is sad because just
And
feel like it shouldn't be the case.
especially if USC takes care of business, they whoop Notre Dame. They beat UCLA by 15-20.
Yeah.
And then they do the same thing to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship or whoever meets up with them. Like
Yeah.
they really handle their business. Yeah, and you will hear no argument from me that because they will be deserving of that spot.
Yep. And they have the players to compete.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you have to worry about USC going into the playoff and getting boat raced. I personally don't.
Lincoln Riley tells me otherwise, but
they're not going to lose like Michigan State did. They're not going to lose like Ohio State did in 2016.
Yeah. Okay. They'll score.
They're not going to lose like that. At worst, it's going to be Kyler Murray, Oklahoma losing to Alabama, where it's at least like the game's not in doubt, but they're putting up points and it's entertaining.
Yep.
And I think that just depends on the matchup. Truly, like you have a phenomenal quarterback. You have great weapons. If they're healthy, you have got playmakers on the defense that at least can create turnovers. USC's depth is a problem that I don't see them even having a chance of winning a national championship.
Agreed.
That they will just be falling apart physically by the end of the season. But
if Alabama and USC played right now on a neutral field, who do you pick?
I'd love to see that game. That game would be great. See, but that's my point. If they get to play like in Alabama, I think they match up just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know what? On a neutral field, I'd go with Alabama just because it's Nick Saban.
Yeah. And
I trust him over Lincoln Riley. But dang, USC.
It's an interesting conversation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. USC could beat Clemson. I think USC against Tennessee, because Tennessee's secondary is so poor, they'd be fine. There's not one team this season that I'm like terrified.
Yeah.
I think the worst matchup for USC would probably be Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Georgia's physicality, I think it just wear them down by the end of the game. I think Michigan would be a really bad matchup for USC because they just wear that front seven down. They're not going to give you the turnovers. So it would be all about matchup. But I don't know. I think it's a fascinating conversation. Like you said, Aaron, like we almost tried not to talk about it before then because we're just enjoying the games too. And, when we talk playoff, oftentimes it's so limited and to really like 5-6 teams who can actually win the national title.
Yep.
And we're talking 10-12 that can actually make the playoff.
And spoiler alert, usually it's only 2 or 3 that can win the championship. So
right. Well, going into the year, I mean, like there's only maximum like 6 teams who even have the potential of winning it, usually. So, and I would argue the 6 are the top 6 right now.
Yeah.
No one outside of the top 6 is winning the national championship, guys. Hey, I hate to tell you that, but Tennessee would be the biggest surprise. So, hey, you didn't see that at the beginning of the year, at least. But yeah, we try to stay away from that conversation also because there's so much good football outside of just the playoff conversation that, we absolutely love watching those games too. So, and those were some fun games this weekend as well. Yeah. Tulane beating up on Memphis. Love that.
Yeah, that was one of the more impressive victories this week. I mean, we're obviously Ohio State fans, and I don't know how we can be discontent with like a 40-point blowout, but somehow that's kind of the taste that was left in the mouth of Ohio State was, that we are.
And I haven't listened to it on the radio.
Yeah, put up 52 against what I'm considering the nation's best defense. I know maybe points-wise, Illinois or somebody like that has better numbers. If Iowa can do that with that offense, they're the best defense in the country in my mind. Okay. It is time for our picks, and we're just gonna kind of not talk about last week because I think it was bad for everybody. So we're just moving on. That didn't happen. We're not worried about it. So let's open up with an interesting game in the American. We've got Cincinnati at UCF, and I don't know if it was a trap game. I don't really know what happened with UCF. We were talking about it. They were playing so well, and then
they'd be ranked if they won.
Yes, absolutely.
They'd be ranked.
They would be. And
Game
ECU
day would probably be there.
Yeah, it'd at least be a thought, right?
Coach Corso said at least.
Yeah. He did, and I admire him for that because I mean it would be a fascinating game. And I don't know, maybe they probably went to UCF one of the years they were undefeated. I think if memory serves me correct.
They did.
Anyways, point of the story: East Carolina beat UCF by like 20 or 30, like just completely handled them. Again, don't know if it was UCF looking ahead. I know obviously no coach would admit that. And I think for the most part, I trust Gus Malzahn, and I actually trust UCF to bounce back this week. I'm taking UCF over Cincinnati. I've thought this for a while. I would love to be wrong because I'm going to be pulling for my home state of Cincinnati. We obviously got to cover them. So I'm pulling for Cincinnati, but I think UCF wins this game.
Yeah, so Cincinnati's a 1-point favorite in this game.
That's
basically a toss-up. It's on the road, so it's in Orlando. I'm sure it'll be probably sold out, near sold out. Great atmosphere. It's one of the best in the group of 5. I mean, they're going to be Big 12 next year, so that's good. Good start for them. Yeah, Aaron, I feel like you just have to trash that game. It was in Greenville. East Carolina's better than that 4-3,
very
now
different team
5-3 record.
home, yes.
East Carolina should have beat NC State at the beginning of the season, if you remember that. Missed field goals galore. I mean, they had that game. Cincinnati just plays to the level of everybody that I'm just not sure what to do with them. They can't blow out teams. They're incapable of it. Their margin of victory for a 6-1 team has to be one of the lowest in the country. It's quite remarkable. I'm going with Cincinnati. I don't know why. I guess I trust their defense a little bit more than UCF.
Yep.
It's a great coach matchup. I love both of them. Defense versus offense. It'll be fun. 2 capable veteran quarterbacks. I also trust Bryant a little bit more in the pocket than I trust Plumlee, who can be a little erratic at times. If he plays at his capacity, UCF wins. But I'll take the higher floor with Bryant and Cincinnati.
Yeah. I agree. And Bryant is back, by the way. I think he was banged up a little bit, came back in their game against SMU, I believe. So yeah, that's that. Okay. So we disagree right away. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger on this one right now. I have highlighted against my better judgment. I should never do this. Kids, don't do what I'm about to do. Do you want to guess the team I have highlighted right now? Big Ten?
You have Nebraska beating Illinois, don't
I do. I've got the Cornhuskers at home.
Don't blame you.
If I can make it -5
don't.
confidence, I would. I'm just doing it. Look, I love Illinois. I love this story. It's got to end at some point, right?
Yeah.
And it would probably make sense it ends on the road. I think Nebraska finds a way.
There's 3 Cinderella teams in our picks this week that I like. Cinderella's in they're completely
this would be a 14-3
expectations.
upset if this was the big the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. Well, but it's Illinois completely exceeding expectations in year 2 right now. Syracuse completely exceeding expectations. Dino Babers was in the hot seat coming in. Shane Beamer in South Carolina. They're playing so much better than you would have expected them to year 2.
Mm-hmm.
They're all pretty big favorites when it comes to pick'em this week. All very losable games. There's no way all 3 of them escape. I'm going with Illinois, Aaron, but it is really low confidence, and I'm picking it because Nebraska's defense has been really, really bad. Chase Brown is low on my Heisman list, but he's on the list.
He deserves it.
He deserves it. He's been fantastic. Illinois coming off the bye week, I think has the chance to prep. I believe Nebraska had a bye as well. But I think it's Nebraska's defense. And if they can't stop Chase Brown, they are doomed. Yep. They're doomed in the game. And their defense has really struggled to stop the run. So I will go with Illinois. I think they survive one more week. We'll see how long it can go.
Love it. Love it. All right. Oklahoma State heads to Kansas State, of course. Kansas State fresh off that loss to TCU. This is another tricky one. I mean, this is another week where we could go 3-7. No, I went 5-5, but
that's surviving the week. You did fine.
Yeah, you're right. Not that that's much to brag on, but I am going to pick the Cowboys. I think they figure out a way after that loss to TCU, a game again in which they may have picked their worst time to play their worst game of the season. I do think Oklahoma State actually wins out and wins the Big 12, and then we'll see as far as the playoff, which obviously means I do need to pick them against Kansas State, so I will.
A lot of injuries in this game, so I'll be monitoring. Adrian Martinez got dinged up immediately in that game against TCU, and then Howard gets knocked out of that game as well. I mean, Kansas State was down to the 3rd string quarterback. if Howard just plays the rest of the game, they probably beat TCU.
Mm-hmm.
This is where TCU, I think this is some of the doubt with that team of they
Right.
keep playing injured quarterbacks. Spencer Sanders got hurt in that game the week before. Oklahoma State has a lot of injuries as well. So I'm really going to be monitoring that and seeing who's playing quarterback for Kansas State this week. That can affect my pick. But right now, I agree with you. I got Oklahoma State. They were my Big 12 champion to pick to start the season. I'll stick with them for now.
We both got Ohio State here, I imagine. How close do you think this game is, though? Do you think Penn State can keep it close?
They can, because it usually is on the road in Happy Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's not a night game. A lot of people are making about that. Night is a big deal. The crowd will still be loud. They'll be there, but there's something about night, and there's something about when it's a whiteout.
Yep.
But Stroud, the one knock on him that I really have is sometimes he's just a very slow starter out of the gates. And you even saw it in the Rose Bowl last year with Utah. And you see the big numbers at the end of the game, and you're like, wow, he played phenomenally. And he did. But the first couple drives of the game, Ohio State didn't do it. And so you just really, as a Buckeye fan, you would really like to see right out of the gate, Ohio State seize control of it. Did Penn State learn some lessons from their trip to Ann Arbor? If I'm Ohio State and they're going to play that light box, it's a time for Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that means you only win the game by 14 to 17 points just because it won't be a shootout. But if that's the type of game you need to play, then you need to play that game. So it'll be interesting. They could definitely keep it close. I don't think they do. I think Ohio State wins by 20. That's not like a massive blowout, but I think they win by 20 points.
Okay. Yeah, I think I feel the same way. I think this could be a thing where Ohio State has a bad-looking first quarter, and then, I don't know, a Sean Clifford interception if he's playing. For Penn State's sake, maybe it's better he doesn't. We can have that conversation later. Just to see what they've got for their highly touted recruit that could play. We'll see what happens with that. Yeah, I agree. I think it does end up being 23-point game. Okay, Syracuse, how will they respond after that loss to Clemson? They now host Notre Dame. I'm picking Syracuse, but I would think about Notre Dame if this game was in South Bend. It's not. It's at the Dome.
I'm picking Notre Dame.
Okay, I get it.
And there's not necessarily a specific reason. They have just as much, if not more talent than Syracuse. I mean, they have more talent than Syracuse.
Yep.
That's clear. Notre Dame's so up and down. You just don't know which version of the team they get. Sometimes I think they play better on the away from the fans.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a uniting thing. You know, they're all together on it. I'm going with the Irish in this game. I talked about those 3 games with those surprise teams. One of them's going to lose. This is my one. Obviously, would love to see Syracuse's story continue on. They are at home, but I'll go with the Irish in this one.
Okay. Interesting. The next game is an SEC East showdown. Kentucky heads to Rocky Top to take on Tennessee. Give me Tennessee. Now, this could be the best defense. Let me rephrase. This will be the best defense that they've faced in Kentucky. I still think Tennessee wins by 17-20.
The offense. So here's the problem.
They do play Georgia next week, so look out for this big time trap game if they're not focused.
At least it's a rivalry game.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's what gets the attention. Kentucky's ranked 19th.
Yeah.
Kentucky has. Here's the problem. What is Tennessee's strength on defense? The defensive line and pass rushing. They were all over Bryce Young. What is Kentucky's worst part of the team? The offensive line and pass protection.
Mm-hmm.
So while Tennessee's secondary is really, really poor, Will Levis is going to be under fire that entire game. He's turnover prone. I think he will be turning the ball over plenty again.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll still get their points. Give me Rocky Top. I also think, Aaron, that they win by 10, 14 points. This is not the team that's given them nightmares that is Florida in the past. They've gone back and forth with Kentucky. They definitely get them this time. And it's at home. I have a hard time seeing Kentucky pull that off.
Yeah, agreed. We stay in the SEC East. South Carolina's got a chance to become bowl eligible when they welcome in the Missouri Tigers, and they're going to win because Missouri's not very good.
I I actually worry about South Carolina in this game. I'm picking them. They're young. Missouri's defense showed a lot against Georgia, and you don't want to take too much from a game, but they've shown that they have the opportunity, they have the players and scheme at times to confuse guys.
Mm-hmm.
Spencer Rattler can easily get confused with pre-snap, post-snap shifts. I mean, they confused Stetson Bennett at times in that game. Missouri did. They have the capability, but I believe it's in Columbia, South Carolina. Not
that is
Columbia,
correct.
Missouri.
The Columbia Bowl. Correct.
So
you are correct.
So I will go with the Gamecocks because they're home in that game.
All right, we are still in the SEC where Ole Miss, after loss to LSU, goes to a beleaguered 3-4 Texas A&M Aggies team after a loss to South Carolina. I'm picking Ole Miss, but I actually had to think about this one. I know Texas A&M's having a rough season, but Johnny, they haven't played at Kyle Field for 4 weeks. They've had 3 straight road games, and the game before that they played Arkansas. This is a different. I know App State beat them, but this is a different team at Kyle Field.
And it's night.
And it's at night. Maybe this is a pick I switch. This is kind of one of those vibe picks that I'm, feel a little bit confident. How awkward and cringe is Midnight Yell? Is it not as bad? Maybe Texas A&M. I'm picking Ole Miss for now, but I'm really curious what you're picking here.
You know what? This is the exact type of game that Texas A&M would win, though.
Oh, yeah.
That's infuriating. It's an infuriating type of win. Whereas a Aggie fan, you have to.
You're like,
just
where's this been all season? Yeah.
So almost angry if you win this game. Like, not that you don't want to, but yes, exactly. Like, why can we play so well and be a yard away from beating Alabama, and then we lose to South Carolina, and then we beat Ole Miss? Like, but that's what the A&M story has been. I have Ole Miss because Texas A&M is one of the worst run defenses in the entire SEC, and that is what Ole Miss's bread and butter is. So I'll go with the Rebels. I think they bounce back after that LSU beatdown.
Sounds good. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's see, what do we got? We got 2 picks left. So one is where game day is going, and this is really cool. Jackson State is 7-0. They're hosting Southern. I've got Jackson State. By the way, depending on what like fancy metrics you look at, Jackson State would rank about like 60th as far as like talent in like with FBS schools, which is saying something considering they're an FCS.
Yeah.
Like that's really, really impressive. So good for Jackson State. I'm curious, like, how long does Deion Sanders stay there? Do they at some point make a jump up to the FBS? Those questions can be answered later. For now, great opportunity for them to have game day. Hopefully we get some battle of the bands, cool. Like just awesome. So good for Jackson State. They're going to win by 100, even though Southern's probably not that bad, but Jackson State all the way. Easy.
Southern's 5-2,
yeah.
But I mean, they're going to Jackson State game day. When you go to game day this year, pick the home team.
Yeah.
That's been some of my trouble. I picked like UCLA to win last week. Pick the home team. Jackson State wins. All those questions are fun, Aaron. But yeah, game day will be fun. I love when they go off the path, off trail, away from their typical matchups. This is a week where they normally go to Happy Valley, one of those type of games. No, I love you're going to go down, see Jackson State. It'll be a fun time. It'll be a unique game day experience. It'll be a fun time Saturday morning. Yeah. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, tune in. Yep. Last pick, and we probably don't need to talk about this very much, other than how many fans will be at this game? Stanford, UCLA. Apparently, Stanford can't fill the stadium. We know UCLA can't.
No.
Goodness, I hope if they pay us to go to this game, I'll be there. But otherwise, yikes. But UCLA is going to win by a lot.
Everyone who attends is on the sickos committee.
That's right.
And this is why I want neither one of these schools in the Big Ten as a Midwestern kid.
Yeah.
Because that would never stand in the Big Ten. Indiana's been terrible forever. They still fill up that stadium pretty well. Same with Illinois. Same with all these. Heck, Rutgers has more fans. Like, this is ridiculous. That's New York City. There's plenty of stuff to do there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have UCLA. They're going to bounce back. Stanford is 3-4 is accurate for them as a team. They have some talent in certain positions. they will look brilliant in the NFL. They're much like Iowa in that way.
Yep.
But UCLA is going to bounce back. I think UCLA has staying power this year. DTR is not really the reason they lost it, which I thought if they did, it might be him imploding. He certainly did not. UCLA kept fighting, but that defense really needs to be fixed. This is a chance to get right.
Yep, I agree. So should be interesting. A lot of interesting games. There was a game that we did not pick, and that is Georgia versus Florida. What percentage chance do you give Florida to win against Georgia this week?
Actually, I give them 25% chance.
I kind of agree with you.
I think they have
it's a rivalry,
chance.
so you throw out the records anyways. But
right,
yeah,
right. I think because, and now I understand they both got bye. This is very common. They try to do the schedules where both teams get the bye at the same time, which I do like.
Yeah,
I don't really love. I didn't always love when I'm like, well, that was such a huge advantage for the one team. Like, of course they won because of the bye week. So I do appreciate that they've been doing that and scheduling a little bit more. I really think with Richardson, Florida has a chance. Now he has to play his best game he has as a Gator. That goes without saying. And they could still lose. But if Florida's defense, Georgia's offense has really struggled. They're going to look at that tape from Georgia's trip to Columbia earlier in the year, and Florida's defense can do exactly the exact same thing and give Georgia a lot of trouble and prevent them from running the ball and make Stetson Bennett beat them. That could be the shocker of maybe not the season so far, but possibly. And I think Florida could introduce some chaos here. This is why I don't have Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama, that scenario happening, just because I think one of these teams slip up. And I might not even pick it, but one of them's going to slip up in one of these games, other than the three of them playing each other.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to, can Florida stop those Georgia tight ends? And that's really what it's going to come down to for a lot of teams playing Georgia. Like their offense may not be dynamic, but they've got the best tight end room that maybe we've ever seen in college football. And at the end of the day, when teams are like this, like just right there, that's all you need. Those tight ends give you the level up. We'll see. You're right. Richardson's going to have to just ball out. I hope he does, because I love the guy. Should he be the third quarterback taken in the NFL draft? I would say no. Maybe not. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on that. Come back to school. Yeah.
Come back to school. I think he could potentially, if we're just saying talent and upside, I don't necessarily even disagree with the third spot. But he stay in Gainesville for a year. I beg of you. To stay for a year, you need more reps. This is your first full year of starting. You can see all the ability. The Utah game, he was fantastic. But even in that game, he didn't throw a touchdown pass. So he can get a lot better, and he'll get better quicker playing, not sitting behind someone in the NFL or being forced to play.
Well, that's my thing. I'm never going to tell a student athlete make this decision, because it's their decision. They make whatever they feel is best for them. But you are in danger of a guy like this going to the wrong team. Yeah. Maybe like what we're seeing with Justin Fields in Chicago, and then who knows after that? Like, like if this thing with Justin Fields keeps going the way it is, like, does he get a legitimate chance? Say what you want about Sam Darnold. I was never very high on him at all. But did the Jets just ruin him to the point where he never really actually had a chance at the NFL? I don't know. It's a conversation worth having at the very least. So that'd be my thought too. And again, yes, he could go to Florida next year and then get drafted by a team that ruins him. That's also possible. But I agree. There's he's so raw. And maybe we'll be
more
wrong.
More quarterbacks are ruined than made in the NFL.
Yes.
That's always the saying. That's not my saying. That's what NFL executives always say, because it's true. And he could go somewhere like Seattle and sit behind Geno Smith, and it could be fantastic. Yeah. But you could also go to a dumpster fire like Washington, and 6 games into the season, the fans are crying out for you. And so they force you into the lineup, and you are not ready, and he won't be. And much like Trey Lance, like, listen, I love Trey. Trey looks like he has all the talent in the world, but he needs to be on the football field playing. And he would have been better off staying in college for another year and playing football than sitting behind Jimmy Garoppolo for a season. You get better by playing football. So, we always talk about Patrick Mahomes got to sit behind, Alex Smith. Well, okay, but he started for 3 seasons at Texas Tech. He had plenty of ball that he played first. Richardson couldn't beat out Emory Jones most of last year.
Yeah.
So he needs more reps. I believe in him. I hope, because I think for his future, again, like you said, Aaron, his call for sure. But I think NIL money at least makes this a little easier. Where you're the starting quarterback at Florida. I'm sure he's getting some money. So, and he'd be in the Heisman list going into next year.
Yeah.
So
he would.
He'll get some real cash if he wants to, and stays at Florida. Not NFL money, but you'll be getting something. Yeah. So I hope he stays. Personally, I hope he stays.
I agree. Austin, thanks for the note. Bears up 10-0. Fields is looking good. So good for Chicago. Where we got to wrap up the show so we can get to that. So Jonny, let's get to some. With that being said, let's get to some best bets. The picks did not go your way, but the bets did for the most part. So we're on the comeback train. Again, Monopoly money as usual until January 1st. And then we still probably recommend Monopoly money, at least for those of us in Ohio. But what do you got for us this week?
Yeah, like I said, last week we went 500 after 2 really rough weeks. So 500, and then this last week we went 5-3.
Well done.
Very good. A lot of good teams covering the spread. I put a note to myself: stop picking road teams, because that is killing me this season. And teams inexplicably melting on the road. So what did I do this week? Pick a bunch of road teams.
Well done.
This was a tough week with spreads. There were not a lot of advantageous spreads really to attack this week, but we talked about most of these games. I have Notre Dame beating Syracuse. They're a 2-point favorite. I'm assuming if they win the game, they win by more than 2. So I'll go ahead and go with the Irish to win, to cover them. Arkansas is a 4-point favorite against Auburn. I think the Razorbacks had their bye week. They got to rest and recover, get healthy. I think they beat the Tigers by more than 4. I'm only going to say they win by 7, but that'll cover. Florida, 22-point dog against Georgia. Ooh. I'm going to say they cover. That's a big line for Georgia to win by 22 against Florida. I think there's a lot of talent, neutral site, rivalry game. I'm not necessarily picking Florida to beat Georgia, but I think they cover that 22-point spread. I'm going to go with that one. I think Oregon, this is my biggest cover play. This is probably my riskiest one of the week. I have Oregon, especially after that huge win against UCLA, covering Cal, 16-point spread. I think Oregon covers the way Bo Nix is playing right now. Cal is bad.
Yeah, Cal's bad.
And they can't get anybody in the stadium either. Yeah. Big Ten, please don't take Cal or Stanford. We do not want them. Mm-mm. They can't get even fans in the stands. So I think Oregon covers that 16-point spread. The offense is just on fire right now. Cal doesn't have the horses to keep up. Then I have Baylor, who's a 2.5-point dog against Texas Tech. I have them beating Texas Tech. Again, 2.5 points. Really talking about who you think is going to win the game. It's a pick 'em. I think Baylor is better than their record. I know they lost in Morgantown, but if Shapen doesn't get hurt in that game, I think they beat the Mountaineers. He's healthy. They're ready to go. I think Baylor has a good stretch to finish the season. Goes 8-4, about what I predicted. And then lastly, North Carolina, 3.5-point favorite against Pitt. I know picking in the ACC, Coastal is perilous. It is perilous. But Pitt losing to Louisville last week. Bad. Pitt doesn't know who they are on offense and won't commit to it. Because of that, I think North Carolina's offense just blitzes them. So
it's not a great defense either. That's very possible.
Right, but I just don't think Pitt. Yeah, Pitt's defense isn't good.
Yeah.
It's 2 bad defenses, so this could turn into a shootout. And in a shootout, North Carolina's going to win more than by 3.5 against Pitt. So those are my picks. Only 6 this week, a few fewer than normal. Not a lot of spreads here. A lot of big lines. I was thinking about Ohio State, but you really don't want to pick that Ohio State-Penn State game. That line ends up being very close very often. Yeah. I'm not going to touch Kentucky, Tennessee, but those are the picks I got this week. Any ones that you hate, Aaron?
No, and I feel like I didn't hate a lot last week and you did okay. So I don't know if I'm like actually the barometer of truth. I find that hard to believe because who knows, but I like that. Andre says the Mighty Vols are back. They are for now. They play
Absolutely.
Kentucky and then Georgia. We're about to find out how back they really are, but it is good to see.
Yep.
I mean, again, as a relatively neutral fan, it is good to see Tennessee back, and I'm assuming
It
by
is.
saying that you are a Tennessee fan, so I hope that you are living your best life this season because you deserve it. And yeah, we'll see. I would not have any issue if Tennessee beats Kentucky and Georgia. I'll probably be
I'd
rooting for
love
that
it.
to happen. And also, in a lot of senses, that will simplify the college football playoff scenario for maybe a little bit more diversity as far as conferences, which I'm always
Aaron,
a fan
what's your
of. So.
dream? What's your dream playoff for? That's possible.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
Tulane invents a time machine, doesn't lose to Southern Miss, and wins out and goes to the playoff. It's that simple. That angry green little wave. I think having Ohio State, I really don't want. I don't know. I really don't want to see USC there, but at the same time, like USC in the playoff, like being back, it's probably a good thing because it gives me like just Ohio, like being an Ohio State fan. It was kind of ingrained in me as a young child, like USC, we don't root for them. So like, could you imagine an Ohio State USC playoff matchup? Like that would be really good. I'd rather have, if I could pick an SEC team, I do want Tennessee in there.
It has to be realistic.
Yeah.
So there's an SEC
So let me
team
go,
in there.
let me go Ohio State, USC, Tennessee.
We're talking TCU, Oklahoma
Right.
State,
Oklahoma State.
Clemson.
I want Oklahoma State.
Okay. Or a second SEC team. Or
Yeah.
Michigan.
That'd be interesting. And that's going to be a real conversation. Like Ohio State 11-0, Michigan 11-0. What are you going to do with that? Largely depends on how that game goes. If it's a beatdown one way or the other, then
That's where the conference really hurts them there. It's great. I was going to say
what's your for?
almost
Yeah, what's your for?
It's going to be almost the exact same thing because I would love to see Tennessee and Ohio State play each other, those offenses, or even USC. So those three are like no brainers. I want those three teams in there. That'd be fantastic. And honestly, I would be okay with Oklahoma State or TCU. I feel like Oklahoma State deserves to be in the playoff. They are just hovering every year and are just unable. Like last year, they're an inch away. Like poor Oklahoma State. I feel like they're always so close and yet so far away. But TCU, that offense would also be fun in the playoff there. So
Yeah.
I guess I'd probably say Oklahoma State. But I'd also be okay with the little Hypnotoad in a playoff. That would be fun.
Yeah. That would Hypnotoad just all the way. Like, is that one of those things like you just sacrifice Ohio State for the season for the sake of Hypnotoad? I'd think about it, you know? All right.
I mean, before this week, I think it was I want Illinois, Syracuse, UCLA, and I don't know who else would even be that final team in that scenario, but like, how do I fit all that? North Carolina, they got one. So let's throw them in there. Yeah. But yeah, for everybody, if you didn't watch the podcast, but you've been tuning in for the show, make sure you watch, but use viewer discretion.
Yes.
It is
this is
certainly
worth another
advised.
warning. Yes.
Northwestern at Iowa, 31.5 point over under, the lowest ever. Avert your eyes unless you have been trained.
Correct.
To
wear the
to
correct
watch.
protection.
Yes.
Whatever you think that means. Yep.
Eyewear
Yes.
is necessary
Yes.
for this game. Sunglasses,
It's like,
perhaps.
look, you're not supposed. You were taught as a kid, don't look directly at the sun, right? Don't look directly at this game. Like have the normal game. Like have Ohio State, Penn State on the main TV. Like have the Iowa Northwestern game like down here on the iPad, on the computer, on the phone, whatever your kind of secondary option is, or maybe even a second TV. But yeah, like if it's on your main screen, then the sickos committee police is coming down and banging down your door, and I don't know if they're arresting you or if they're like just watching the game with you, like having a great time. Probably that one, because
You're part of the committee now.
You're part of the committee now. Like you are probably the president at this point if you have that on the main screen. So you are a sicko, and we love our college football sickos around here. So with that, that's a great place to end. For those of you hanging out with us on YouTube, which is all of you, because that's where this show is. Thanks for being here. Appreciate the comments and appreciate you guys watching. We're here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time, breaking down the latest in college football, and all of the replays for all of our shows are available on this YouTube channel as well as fifthandgoalsports.com. So until next week, we'll talk to you later. Have a good one.